Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight. As you just heard from Big Dick MLJ, I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen. It is Thursday, February 15th. I tried to mix up how I did the intro there, Jensen. It is Thursday, February 15th. We got a lot to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. Jensen, how you doing today, buddy?
I am doing okay, y'all. Doing okay. Waking up a little bit, clearing my throat out this morning. Hope everyone's having a good Thursday morning. But yeah, it's been all right. Been a decent week. Been a really good week for wrestling for Cody Rhodes fans. So I mean, definitely gonna talk about that. How you been, man?
I was about to say last week we didn't know quite what to expect. Feels like it's been a long week. This press conference was a week ago at this point, and it feels like a lot has happened since what didn't even turn out to be a press conference. It was just a big media event because there was nobody asking questions or anything. But that was a week ago, everybody, for those keeping track at home. Tommy Maynard gets us kicked off here with a super chat. The best show on Fightful. Let's go. We appreciate it, Tommy. Guys, you can leave a super chat, get your question, comment, statement read on the air. Leave a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. So you can also subscribe to Fightful Overbooked. That's a sister channel where I do a lot of content over there. And you can also check us out on podcast platforms. Any podcast platform that you listen to your shows from, we are available there as well. So you can check that out. Guys, I guess we can get into it, Jensen. It has been a good week for Cody Rhodes fans, and maybe
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Maybe this story will actually get finished. So this time last week, we weren't sure where things were going to go with WrestleMania. Cody had stepped aside. Let's be honest. The Rock came in, but like on television, Cody stepped aside. And The Rock stepped up to Roman Reigns. We had the big press conference, a big media event, the kickoff is what they called it, last week. And Seth Rollins comes out and he talks, and then Roman comes out and interrupts him and makes fun of his shoes. And then Roman says, this no longer is Cody's choice. This is my choice. I choose The Rock. So The Rock comes out and he's talking about blood and dynasty and family. He shows this giant family tree that no one could understand what it actually was. And then Cody comes out and says, all of this is BS. 5 minutes in, can't curse yet. Says all of this is BS. And he says, your family would be ashamed of how you're acting. Your family, Roman, Rock, your grandfather, your father, they'd all be ashamed of how you're acting. I choose to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And then The Rock slaps Cody Rhodes, and we get into a little confrontation, pull apart. And then 2 minutes after this event goes off the air, Triple H just tweets it out. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania 40. You're getting your wish here, Jensen. But what'd you really think of how this is all done?
Honestly, I love the press conference, whatever you want to call it, the kickoff. I actually thought it was super entertaining the way that they did it. I thought it was a little confusing by the end of it, like, because I think all of us at the end were like, well, so what's happening?
Yeah.
We were like, they didn't, it wasn't really clear when the show actually ended. But yeah, Triple H put the tweet up, and then everyone started retweeting it and quote tweeting it, and it was like, okay, this is what's happening. Like, we're getting Cody and Roman night 2. Well, at least that's what it looks like. Night 2 would be Cody and Roman. And it leaves us all these questions about night 1 and Seth Rollins' involvement, who we'll talk about in a second, I'm sure as well, because he cut a great promo on Monday with Cody. The two of them, I love that segment a lot. So, you know, let me put it this way, because people might be surprised to hear me say this. If things are playing out the way that they look like they're playing out, and Cody does finish the story, which it looks like that's where all this is heading, I actually love the presentation of what we saw on Thursday. I actually love the idea of The Rock and Roman Reigns as a team until something goes wrong, and then that will cause the break in their eventual match, which will probably happen next year's WrestleMania, I'm guessing. The visual of The Rock and Roman together is actually, I like what we're getting with this. I actually really do, as like a wrestling fan. But what I'm seeing a lot of people saying, and I've also seen it in the chat a little bit already, is The Rock kind of like Big Brother's Roman. At least that's what it looks like. And like that's kind of a strange visual after like 3 to 4 or whatever dominant. I mean, Roman's been dominant for almost a decade in the WWE, but this specific title run being, you know, over 3 years long or whatever, it's kind of weird seeing somebody come in and kind of be like almost like in charge of Roman. But like that's not really what they're saying, but that's just kind of how it looks. Like they're supposed to kind of look like equals of what it seems like. But you see like The Rock walking in front of Roman. Some of this. It just kind of seems like, but once again, and I might have brought this idea up last week. I can't remember, but it just seemed kind of far-fetched, like that The Rock would actually turn heel because it looked like we were going to get The Rock and Roman at least one of these nights. But kudos to the WWE and The Rock and the people involved, honestly, because The Rock is leaning into the heel stuff. Like the Cody Crybaby stuff is a heel move. I was pissed off when I initially heard that on the McAfee show. I was like, what the hell is he doing? Like that's not, the fans are cheering for Cody. Like Cody's the true people's champion right now. There's no more calling someone the people's champion than like, you know, you get voted in over The Rock for something like this, you know? Sorry, go ahead.
When I heard that promo on McAfee's show, I was like, oh, he's actually leaning in to this. I actually felt more confident about what they were going to do going into WrestleMania from a Cody Rhodes standpoint when I heard that promo, because if he was just trying to like ignore it and just be like, yeah, you know, contingency of the fans want Cody. I know that's good. You know, I love Cody. Cody's great. A long history with Cody. Like he said that stuff, but if he left it at that and didn't go full heel promo, I would have been more worried for Cody. When he went full heel promo, I was like, they ain't doing a heel versus heel match at WrestleMania. Like they're just not. So Cody's got to factor in this somehow.
Yes, and it looks like they'll probably do some sort of tag match with Rollins and Cody versus Roman and The Rock. And like I said, we have like a whole year or whatever for The Rock and Roman again. Like I think what I'm assuming they'll do is Cody will finish the story at WrestleMania, which we'll dive a little more into how I think that'll happen. And then there will be some sort of something will happen. And I think that because I'm really excited in a lot of ways for the current WWE product in the future with Endeavor and this whole TKO thing, because outside of the obvious like management and Vince and like that kind of stuff, which there's still a lot of question marks with like kind of that stuff, you know what I mean? Like and there's obviously the controversy when it comes to all of that for sure. I'm not ignoring that. That's like the elephant in the room, obviously. But on like the actual production side, like that trailer they put together for WrestleMania looks incredible. Like you can tell that they're really going next level with like the Hollywood style production. And that's what The Rock brings also as like a character on the show. Like what it looked like I was seeing on Thursday was like the first scene of like a movie. I know that sounds kind of corny, but like it really is like this. It's like the Rock, and it's like The Rock understanding the position he's in, the position the company's in, and like the position Cody's in, and being like, well, I'm pretty much like in charge of the company now, like in a lot of ways. Obviously, The Rock has a lot of pull what they're going to do with him and with other people on the show. And for him to like recognize the pivot and be like, okay, I'm going to lean in. Like they want to boo me. They want to say Rocky sucks. They want a we want Cody movement. Screw it. Let's give them what they want. Like let's actually just give the fans what they want. You know, and like that's kind of how it feels in a lot of ways. And like it just the production of it all comes across like new and innovative. Like we've been seeing like the Kevin Dunn style for like forever, and it just kind of feels like on top of the management changes and stuff, like we're seeing like a lot of cool production, even on like Raw, just certain ways that stuff is shot and certain video packages and certain interview segments and stuff. Like it just seems like it is really fresh. It really does feel like a new era. And I feel like The Rock leaning in the way he is to this heel thing is like a really good sign of them like actually listening to the fans.
Yeah. They do cool graphics when they go to commercial breaks. Now I saw the WrestleMania 40 they say it's called trailer. And that was done very well. It does look like they are setting up a tag team match for night one. Based on one, what happened at the press conference, two, that whole trailer, three, Seth's promo on Monday, where he said he would be Cody's Shield. Seth is going to face the winner of the Elimination Chamber, I assume at night two of WrestleMania, but I assume this main event's night one. So what do you do in that match if it happens? Like, how are you booking that?
That's a good question. Because it depends. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter as long as Cody wins on night two. Like, there's a lot of ways they can go with that. Like, Roman's not getting pinned night one.
Yeah, I think that would be
what I mean.
I think that would be very stupid to pin Roman.
And it's weird to pin Seth or Cody. It's weird. I mean, The Rock is really the one who should probably take the L, but like, I don't see that happening either. That's actually a really good question of like, I honestly haven't really thought about like who actually would win the tag team match. Like in storyline, that would be the best opportunity probably for Damian Priest to just come and cash in when no one's expecting it. But then you have like
no one wins a tag team match. Damian Priest just wins the tag team match.
right. Yeah, maybe that's your out. Damian Priest comes out and but that's a good question. I think the most likely person in that match to take an L is probably Seth, because I don't think you can have Cody or Roman lose right before night two, and I just don't see The Rock losing. So I really don't know. I mean, there's a chance Cody could lose, and it makes you think like, oh, he's not going to finish the story tomorrow night. But I don't know why he'd really do that with the momentum he's got.
Rock makes the most sense. By the way, G Ramsey, I don't think it's the real Gordon Ramsay, but if it is, what up?
Yeah.
We are speculating on this. It's not false info. We are simply giving our opinion based on what is out there. We've never said this is definitely the main event. This is definitely the main event. We know what matches are booked, and then we're speculating based on the rest of the stuff.
Does anyone actually think that The Rock and Cody isn't the night two main event though at this point?
Oh, Rock and Roman? You mean
I'm saying
Roman
and Cody? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that obviously is the night two. I mean, yeah, but we're not reporting it. Gordon Ramsay, you'll learn how to make your grilled cheese sandwich already. Come on, man. I'm sure y'all have seen that video.
I think if they do the tag team match night one, I think Cody losing actually builds to the story as long as he's winning night two. Now, I have trollingly said that Roman should stack Cody and Seth night one, and then he just beats Cody night two. Just Roman just wins both matches, disposes of these losers, and then maybe you can find somebody to beat him next year. Then The Rock has to step up and be like, you did well. You beat Seth and Cody. You beat the Cody crybabies. You beat the Seth. What can work with what's alliteration with Seth Rollins? The Seth shitheads.
Yeah.
All that.
There you go.
But now, can you beat the people? Can you beat the High Chief? Can you beat The Rock? Like, let's have this battle that we were supposed to have before the crybabies and the shitheads took over.
Right.
And then WrestleMania 41, we get Rock and Roman.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways they can get to all this stuff, which is also exciting, as a fan, like to not know exactly how this is going to go, but to at least have a light at the end of the tunnel for the Cody stuff. Because the Seth, the Seth stuff's interesting also because there's like that little bit in my mind, and I can see some other people in the comments also where like, does Seth turn? Like, does Cody lose again this year after all of this because somebody stabs him in the back or something? And I just don't think you can do that again this year. But I thought that last year too. But this year is even more like he got voted in over The Rock this year. Like, come on. My kind of fantasy booking kind of thoughts for The Rock and Roman is I think something will happen where regardless of night one, Or even, I mean, we're also discounting, like, I know Elimination Chamber's in like the middle of the night, and that's why like certain things probably will or won't happen on that show. But they could do they could do that tag team match maybe at Elimination Chamber instead of WrestleMania.
No. They've already announced they're doing Cody and Seth on a Grayson Waller effect at Elimination Chamber.
Oh, that's all they're doing for Elimination Chamber?
Yeah.
Okay,
if they had that match for Elimination Chamber is a week from Saturday as well. Like, if they were doing some big match on that would have definitely been announced by now.
Yeah, they'd be promoting it. You're right. You're totally right. So what I'm thinking is, like, long term for The Rock and Roman, Cody finishes the story at WrestleMania, and the way it goes down is similar to last year. Members of the Bloodline start trying to interfere, but this year Cody and his union is prepared, and we kind of like one by one, like, you can plug and play here with who all this happens with, but you have Jimmy trying to get involved, and Jay comes out and stops him. You have Solo come out and try to get involved. Seth Rollins stops him. You have anyone else, maybe like Jacob Fatu debuts or something. You got another Uso popping out of nowhere that like people weren't expecting, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are there to stop him or whatever, and it makes it to where there is nothing in their way. It is just Cody and Roman. Cody has hit 2 crossroads back to back, and he's holding Roman up for the third one, just like last year. And there's nobody to stop him. And he hits that last one, pins him 1, 2, 3, and that's that. And then
I think it should be that, but as he goes for the third one, Roman escapes out, hits the rope, spear, pins Cody 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, okay. So anyways, and obviously The Rock tries to get involved, something happens, or maybe even The Rock ultimately screws Roman over at the end of all this. Like, maybe even he's like, if something happens between now and WrestleMania where The Rock doesn't want to have Roman's back or something, I don't know. But I think the most maybe interesting story would be is if Cody finishes the story, beats Roman for the title, and then Roman kind of like goes away for a while, which is pretty much what he's already been doing. Like, it's like part-time. So he kind of goes away, but The Rock stays more consistently. Like, he's not maybe there every show, but now he's like an owner of the company. He's going to be there more often, at least you would think. And I would have Rock kind of like take over the Bloodline. Like, Roman leaves, like Roman dropped the ball. Roman's not the head of the table anymore. And The Rock sticks around, and like Jimmy follows The Rock. Solo follows The Rock. Maybe even Jay gets back in that mix. Like, in like the Rock kind of like reforms the Bloodline, like in like his own way. And then by the time Roman comes back, he's like, what happened? You took over pretty much. And like, there's like a clash there, and that leads to like them at WrestleMania next year. Maybe there's maybe a lot of cool stuff you can do with a story like that. And once again, we have other members of this, the NOI family, like the whole family tree we saw there. There are other members like Jacob Fatu, for instance, being the most likely that we haven't even seen on WWE TV yet. Like, you can add more to this family, to the story still, even though it's been going on as long as it has, and it would be a totally new thing with The Rock being in charge of it. So I'm just trying to think kind of outside the box there too a little bit, of like, as far as like how would you get to Roman and The Rock. But that's what I feel like the plan has to be at this point, is tag team match night 1, Seth versus Elimination Chamber winner night 2, Cody versus Roman night 2, The Rock versus Roman next year. You don't need a title involved in that. That's just a literal blood feud for the Bloodline. And, you'd have Cody making his year-long title defense in next year's WrestleMania against whoever the next, maybe by that point it's Seth again or something, who knows. But yeah, that's where I'm at with all this. I'm happy. I'm excited. I think this is all really good from a fan perspective as far as I'm concerned.
Let me ask you a real question. It's not a troll question. Maybe a little.
Mm-hmm.
Does Cody not look like a little bitch in that he stepped aside? He's like, I got special counsel. Here's The Rock. And The Rock comes out and he confronts Roman. And then Roman agrees to face The Rock. Cody says, I'm going to take everything, but not at WrestleMania. And then all of a sudden, less than a week later, he's like, this is BS. I want Roman at WrestleMania. Like, you stepped aside, dude.
Yeah, and they haven't explained the whole, my goalpost has changed. I'm going to come for you, but not at WrestleMania. They haven't explained that side of this, and they probably won't, because what probably actually happened in real life was they were going to do the Rock and Roman, and then like there was just too much support for Cody, and they're like, they were maybe going to wait till SummerSlam or till this MSG show everyone keeps saying is going to happen. Like, I think that's what they were probably going to do, but then the We Want Cody movement, I almost said the Yes movement, basically that just, they have to pull the trigger now, and it's new ownership, it's new management, it's a fresh start. Like, this is when you do that. Like, WrestleMania is the time to do this. Like, even if there's like a bigger story technically with Cody and MSG or something like that, like, you also don't want this to become like a Lex Luger situation. And there's a lot of parallels between Cody and Lex Luger in a lot of ways. And I'm a Lex Luger fan. I'm not one of these people that like trashes Luger as a wrestler. Like, as a kid growing up, Lex Luger was awesome. At least you're my age. Did you like Lex Luger when you were a kid growing up? You think he was cool?
I love Lex Luger now. He freaking rules.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I've always loved Lex Luger. And people get all snobby about he wasn't a great worker or this or that. It's like, dude, when you're a little kid and you see a guy that's jacked like that and he's athletic and he's up there, he's putting the giant in a torture rack. It's like, okay. Like, Lex Luger was awesome. One of my favorite memories in the history, probably the memory that's my most fond of wrestling as a child, is Lex Luger putting Hollywood Hogan in the torture rack and beating him on Nitro. And was it 1997? And like the whole locker room came out and like they celebrated with them. I was at my friend Tom Jackson's house. I haven't seen this guy in probably 20 years, Tom Jackson. And I remember it was like we had the day off school the next day or something. I was staying at his house on a Monday night when we were watching Nitro as kids. And it's like, so like I love Lex Luger. And Lex and Sting as like a team and the friendship all those years and stuff. Like, I've always been a Sting guy. So like I was always a Sting and Luger guy. So like, anyway, the one knock you can have on Lex Luger is they never actually went all the way with him, and they never actually gave him the WWF championship. And he had the WrestleMania opportunity. He had multiple opportunities where they could have done it. And you just don't want Cody to fall into that, where people stop believing in him. And it's like, well, you've gotten 2 WrestleMania opportunities and you've lost it twice. Like, and then like the cheers kind of start dying down. The woe thing starts dying down. Like, they pick somebody new that they want to get behind. Can't let all that happen. Like, you've been looking for your new John Cena for so long, and you can go back to the Hulkster, and then like the Austin, like the Hulkster area, the Austin area, the era, the Cena era. Like, they've always had like that top baby face for their company, and they haven't had that in a long time, really, since Cena hasn't been full time for so long, and their top guy's been a heel in Roman, or they tried to make him a baby face and it didn't work, for so many years. And it's like you actually, like, Cody's it. Like, he's right. You found him. You actually got one. You got it. You got your Cena. So like you gotta, in WrestleMania it's like the timing and everything is perfect. And Cody losing last year, people were thirsting to see him win it. And the other thing that's interesting about this too, which is fun, it's scary as a Cody fan, but it's fun as a wrestling fan. It's still Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns still has his massive fan base of people that want to see him beat Cody. So like, this is it. I mean, he still might. It's still Roman won last year. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's unlikely. I think you got to pull the trigger on Cody right now. The time's now for sure. But like, it makes it interesting because it's like it's still Roman, and Roman still got his fan base, and they could still want to do the Roman versus The Rock match for the title next year. Maybe they are gonna have Roman hold on to it for another year and do that. Like, it's a possibility.
I do think Cody needs to explain why he kind of changed course. The easiest explanation would simply be when Rock and Roman were out there, they were disrespecting basically all the royal families, saying that there's only one dominant royal family in wrestling. It's the bloodline. And that's when Cody, of course, comes out and is like, this is BS. He just basically says, like, we talked about you taking down the bloodline. And you're coming in, it seems like you're working with Roman Reigns. That's not what we discussed. That's not
Right.
what we talked about. I can't have that. I can't have another part-time champion. I can't have another Hollywood person holding this title. The fans deserve better. The WWE deserves better. That's why I stepped in. Now, he tweeted or Instagrammed on Thursday before the event of like, I've made my decision. So it made it seem like he'd already made his decision then to potentially go after Roman or Seth, and maybe his decision was Seth until Rock started talking and Roman started talking at that press event, and then Cody was like, "All right, no, I can't stand for this. I have to cut this off. I have to face Roman Reigns," type of thing. But you need that explanation, because otherwise it just looks like Cody comes out and it's just like, "I choose Roman because I don't like, I don't know, because I don't like the way The Rock was talking," but at least say that instead of trying to just surmise all of this, because otherwise, and you came out, you gave your spot to The Rock, they did what they were going to do, and then you just look like an idiot for stepping in The Rock's spot. We understand it. Like, we understand why, because of the fan reaction, like behind the scenes stuff. We understand all that, but it's still nice to explain these things on television.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good. That's all fair. Everything you just said actually is like, so it's actually like almost like too logical for wrestling. Like actually just like explaining, like, you know, because it makes nobody likes an Indian giver, right? Or no takesy backsies. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, you gave it to The Rock, like, and you know what I mean? But I think that that explanation though is actually great that you just gave of like, if Cody were to come out and be like, "Yo, hold on, like, yeah, we agreed to this, but I didn't realize you were teaming up with the dude. Like, this isn't. We didn't talk about you coming back and joining Roman so you can make the most money for WrestleMania as like for yourself, you know, like because that's all The Rock. When The Rock was cutting that heel promo on Thursday, it was really heavy on who's ready to see the biggest grossing pay-per-view of all time, you know, the biggest stars of all time versus each other, you know, bloodline versus bloodline, generational. And it isn't about like the title really, or like who's the best. It's like, who's ready to see this attraction? Because we're both attractions. And Cody's like, this is about the WWE championship that my father held that was taken from him, that I've been trying to win my entire life. Like, screw this box office stuff. Like, I'm trying to be the best in the world, and I'm trying to win this championship. And by the way, to do that, you got to take out Roman Reigns. And the other thing is the whole, Cody saying he wants to take everything from Roman. You still accomplish that with this. As long as you get the championship from him, and there's some sort of dissension between Roman and The Rock by like the end of WrestleMania, or like the seeds start getting planted where like the bloodline crumbles, or Roman gets booted from the bloodline or something, like that's Cody winning this and like get it. The other thing we're not considering is like down the line, Roman will probably want another chance to get this back from Cody too. Like, and there's a story in that also potentially. Like, I don't see Roman like having a title run like this, Cody winning, and then Roman like getting it right back. But let's not forget that, like, I mean, it's Roman Reigns is still going to be in the company. Like, he's still going to be at a top level, and they'll probably build to him and The Rock heavily until next year is what I'm guessing. But like, it just I like what you're saying though, Jeremy. That's like they should come up with an explanation somewhat or similar to, or maybe even exactly like what you just laid out, because that fills up a lot of the plot holes in this, and that's the one thing they need to figure out is explaining to the fans why Cody actually stepped aside to begin with, and then why he decided, outside of the "we want Cody" movement, like you already knew the fans wanted you, like listening to the crowd. So like, yeah, they need to explain that side of it, the stepping aside and then stepping back in, and like what actually led to both of those decisions.
Got a bunch of super chats. Tommy says Roman simping to Dwayne was wild. It's logical in that if you look at the Guess Who family tree, Rock is a high chief, and that is higher than a tribal chief. So Roman kind of falling in line and following The Rock actually makes a little bit of sense. It's weird to see because Roman's been such a mythical dominant figure in WWE where everybody just kind of bows to him. To see him kind of bow to somebody was a little awkward. But again, if you look at just, you don't even have to look at this bloodline family tree. You could just look at overall. The Rock's a bigger star than Roman Reigns. It's just how it is. Roman's a big star in the world of WWE. Rock's a big star in the world. So it makes sense that Roman would kind of fall back a little bit to The Rock. It is kind of jarring to see, though, when we're so used to seeing Roman be way up here in the WWE hierarchy, though.
And The Rock is also like physically larger than Roman too. Like even like just aesthetically, when you look at the two of them next to each other, The Rock just kind of looks like the alpha between the two of those guys. Like it just, even the way he just carries himself, it just kind of like when when they were walking backstage, and is her name Jackie that does the
Jackie Redmond?
Is that her name?
Yeah.
Beautiful. But she it's funny because like she was standing next to Drew McIntyre on the Raw, I think. And Drew's a big dude, but he's like, I say only, Drew's probably like 6'4", 6'5", which is big. But like, next to her, he looks 7 feet tall, you know what I mean? But like, I just remember, I think it was Jackie was interviewing somebody, Triple H. I think that's what it was. She was talking to Triple H, and this was on Thursday. And like when The Rock and Roman came by and started talking about like, you don't talk shit about our family, like this is what happens, you need to fix this, blah blah blah. Like the Rock was saying all that to Triple H face to face, and then Roman was just kind of behind him, like, yeah, like you better do what he says, and like kept going. It's just like it is a little jarring.
Roman's getting bitched down by Nick Aldis. He ain't gonna step to Triple H. He's beating him at a WrestleMania, but
he has. He has. Did you call it the Guess Who trust? The Guess Who?
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. A lot of people have said it looked like a Guess Who board.
When you guess who, it's a mystery.
I thought that thing was like a big old giant game of Hangman or something, because you couldn't read anything up there until they finally did like the close-up shot. Everything it was like The Rock's like, take a look, and then the crowd just doesn't react at all. It's like, oh, cool. Here's a friggin' tree with a bunch of words on it that no one can read. Great.
But it did it made for a lot of great memes. I see a lot of people like green screening that and like putting like their own stuff on it, which has been pretty funny to watch.
No,
go ahead.
Tyler for Film says Cody versus Roman and Hollywood Rock. Yes, it's so much cooler than his struggle last year. So long as Cody wins, this justifies his loss last year, and Rock brings the mainstream attention to it. Great, Cody should lose. I think it's much more hilarious if Cody loses.
No, not the Cody losing part, but the rest of that is facts. And I said it last year that like Cody couldn't be any hotter than it was last year, and they dropped the ball massively. And I still stand by the fact that he should have won the title last year for like a lot of reasons, but
what if he could be even hotter next year when Raw's on Netflix and it's the first Mania Netflix? Like, you got to think about that too.
Well, I think with that, you market it as Cody Rhodes, has been the face of the company for a year, making his 1-year title defense at WrestleMania. And then the Netflix thing is also like The Rock and Roman is, on Netflix WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like that's big. I think that's how you do that.
Rock never beat Austin at WrestleMania until the third try. I mean, Cody couldn't beat Roman at WrestleMania until the third try.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. It's way too much. It's way too much waiting, and too many things can happen. It's people get hurt, stuff happens, contracts, this and that. Like I just you can't wait any longer on the Romans or on the Cody stuff with Roman. You got to have Cody win now. But you are right. It did take The Rock three attempts at Steve Austin at WrestleMania, and he finally beat him on that third one. And Austin was like in the hospital like overnight and everything. That's such a wild story. Well, I shouldn't say Austin's last match. He did come back and wrestle Kevin Owens like 20-something years later. But
Tommy Maynard says Cody finished the story, then holds down SmackDown on USA in 2025. Where does Roman go next? He's got to turn face on the heel Rock for next WrestleMania. Jensen laid out a very good scenario with Roman and Rock building to next year's WrestleMania. That's very possible. Now Roman already only works like one show a month now. Anyways, we're probably setting up for a Roman Reigns face turn at some point with this, just because every good heel typically goes face, and the reaction for that is huge. I assume we'll get that at some point. And part of your explanation for things with Rock basically kind of forming the new bloodline, and as Tommy says, the new corporation, Corporate Rock, which is a very real possibility coming off of WrestleMania. But we'll see if that's the direction they decide to go, or if Rock can turn the people back on his side once Cody is out of the picture. Because I do think people want to cheer for The Rock. It's just Cody was such an overwhelming babyface and such an overwhelming choice for WrestleMania. That's like, yeah, we like The Rock, but like we've been invested in this story for a year plus, really since Cody's return, 2 years. Like we like The Rock, but how about you actually pay off this guy that we've been cheering for the last 2 years?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just gotta. Time is up. My time is now. You gotta.
That's who should end Roman's run, John Cena.
Well, I was also thinking that like Cena could be one of the people that like helps stop one of the bloodline members. Like maybe he gets in The Rock's way or something. Because like Cena has given the Cody endorsement. Like he hugged him. The Cena thing. I think I've seen you tweet about this too, and I agree. Why the hell did they have Cena lose to Austin Theory? Like that was so like that served nothing for anybody other than making me think John Cena's lamer than he was before that, which is kind of hard to do because like it's John Cena and he's the GOAT, for WWE, and it's like he just.
I hated that loss. I was very certain John Cena was winning that match. Especially once they announced that it was going to be like the opening match of WrestleMania. Like this is the first match of the 2-night WrestleMania. It's like, oh, they're going to go out there and kick this off nice. John Cena gets the U.S. title. He can do the open challenge.
There.
Yeah, he can do the open challenge gimmick on Raw. And then if he loses, then like fine. But like he's not going to lose to Austin Theory. They lost in Theory. They've done nothing with Austin Theory. I actually meant to look this up because I was thinking about this. Somebody had a tweet. I'm sure it was one of these engagement accounts of like who's going to be the next WWE champion. And it was like LA Knight. Who else was part of this list? Gunther, Austin Theory, and then it was somebody else. It was like the third person also was like kind of somebody who it was Jey Uso. Is like, who would you want to be like the next WWE champion? And I'm like, one of these guys is not like the other. Like LA Knight's over, very over still. Jay's very over. Gunther is Gunther. It's like Austin Theory is just, who the fuck cares about this guy?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And then Cena also got pretty much squashed by Solo, didn't he? Recently?
Which was, that was complete. Like, which is fine, but then they've done nothing to build up on that with Solo. Like, I don't mind him losing to Solo because you had built Solo very well. You had been protecting Solo, but then you didn't follow up with it at all. Like, the Theory stuff didn't make sense because, like, you hadn't really built him that great. He was just kind of the U.S. champion, but no one really cared. And then, he lost, and then there was no follow-up. The Solo stuff, you'd at least built him, protected him. Solo only lost, like, the week of WrestleMania when he lost to whoever Roman was about to face. Otherwise, Solo wasn't losing at all. So, since Theory's victory over John Cena, he was in the triple threat match at Backlash, where he retained the title. He was in the SummerSlam Battle Royal. He faced Ray for the title at Payback, and then he was in the Royal Rumble. That's it. He's been in one singles match on pay-per-view, PLE, since he beat John Cena. It's not great.
Wild. That's terrible. Like,
yeah.
Coming off of the rub of beating John Cena at WrestleMania, that's terrible. I'm not even blaming Austin Theory. I just don't know why that move was made.
Well, I blame Austin Theory because he's not good. I mean, the booking hasn't been good of him, certainly, but I just also don't think he's that guy.
Well, aren't they? I haven't seen much of him, honestly, since that match. Like, isn't he just doing stuff with like Grayson Waller now anyway?
Yeah,
like,
Grayson Waller outshines him every single time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not super high on Grayson Waller's in-ring work. One, I don't think he's like fully given opportunities to showcase himself in the ring. His finisher, he's got to change that because it's like an rolling inside the ring stunner. It's like, that's not gonna work all the time. But Waller just eats him up in segments and like on the microphone and stuff. And there's a reason why like Grayson Waller gets the Grayson Waller effect with Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins at Elimination Chamber, and Austin Theory might not even be on that show because he's just there. He's a lackey.
Right. Well, and also, like Tommy said in the chat, and other people were saying, another thing that I should have brought up is, that the Austin Theory over Cena thing was also a Vince call, and like things are definitely changing with that. Like, so.
But I don't think Triple H fully dislikes like he was pushing him in NXT
yeah,
a little bit. Like he was one of those Evolve guys that Triple H was keeping an eye on. I don't think like he's fully down on Austin Theory. I just think that Austin Theory is not good. And it's kind of been obvious that he is where he's at. Like there's a place for Austin Theory. I don't want anybody to think that like, oh, there's no place for him. There's always a place for these guys. But top of the card, future of the company, next John Cena, like some people wanted to say, like he wanted to say, ain't it? Just ain't it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I by the way, everybody can go back and check the tape. I've been saying this since last year on this stuff. Like before Cena even entered the picture. I vividly remember Theory did like this backstage promo like the week before Cena was supposed to like return and have the big confrontation with Theory. Theory did this backstage promo and he looked very scared. Like you could just see it. He was not comfortable in this backstage promo. And I said after that promo, I was like, Cena's going to be back next week. Cena's going to eat this man alive on the microphone. You could tell this dude is not ready for the moment. He couldn't control himself in a backstage promo when John Cena was not in front of him. He's going to get eaten up in the ring when Fine Speech is standing across the ring from him. And he did. Couple super chats more. Roman looked like Jimmy behind the Rock. Yeah, Rock's a big dude, man. Clanging and banging. Big dude. Tommy also says, I know he has the heart thing. What is there a world where Triple H gets cleared for medical advancements and we get Triple H versus The Rock? It feels like they're setting that up, but I don't think there is I don't think Triple H gets cleared for that. I don't.
It'd be cool if he did, because if he got cleared, you can do that, and you have him versus Cody. Like, we still got to finish that story.
Triple H and Cody, like, fine. Triple H and The Rock, like, the last Triple H matches were not good. I don't know if The Rock can like get through a 10-minute match, honestly. Like I think a Triple H and Rock match, given both of their conditions in 2024, would be god awful.
It still bothers me that Sting had to take the L to Triple H because they thought they were going to do The Rock and Triple H the next year, and that didn't wind up happening. Stupid.
Tommy else says Cody is white hot right now. Literally got the brass and The Rock to back down from Rock and Roman. You have to go with them. Yeah, go with them to lose it to Roman Reigns. Stacked. Tommy says I still think it's money on the table for Cena, Hogan, WCW heel turn. Change my mind. I think there is too, but like Cena ain't turning heel at this point. It ain't happening. Like he gets cheered every single time he's back now, and I don't think there's enough of a full-time run with Cena to do like a heel thing. Like he's not coming back for an extended period of time, I don't think.
Yeah, the closest thing we got was like the nod to that in the Firefly Funhouse match. Like I think that's the closest that we're gonna get when he came out kind of doing like the Hollywood Cena NWO thing. Like they kind of like nodded to like the fan base of like, you know, you always wanted it, you never really got it. This is kind of us saying like what would have happened if it would have happened kind of thing. But he's not full time enough to. I mean, I like Tommy said, like I think like you could do it. Like it might be interesting, but you'd have to have Cena there like on a more regular basis again for it to like matter. So otherwise, what's the point of having like a heel Cena come in like occasionally? Like that just wouldn't make sense. You want him getting the pops.
Chi-Town Spurs says if Triple H becomes a face corporate character after that Rumble press conference, I'm gonna feel a certain type of way. Fair, honestly, very fair. Like I don't like authority figures in wrestling unless it is a Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce type where they're just kind of filling a role of matchmaker, decision maker type of person. I don't need them to build to a match that doesn't actually happen. I don't like that. And Triple H, you know, taking these shots at Rock and Roman and everything. If it's not going to build to anything, just don't do it.
Yes. What up, Zarin? I see you in the comments. Hope you're doing well, dude.
Andrew's area, nice eyebrows. Dollar for Film says I still boo Cena every time. Cena sucks forever. Look, he enjoys it, so I respect it. Tommy says Mania 41, heel Rock, face Roman, and Hollywood Cena versus Cody. Look, I'm for. I do think they should do like a Cena and Cody match at some point. I think that would be awesome, but I don't know if they will go to that.
Well, also Cena, I think like, you know, Steve Austin kind of said recently, like, yeah, I have an opponent in mind, but like the stars would have to kind of align perfectly, and I don't even want to put the name out there. I think Cena could be who he's talking. There's a few people who could be talking about. CM Punk, obviously, people want to see and stuff. But I mean, the main matches that we never got for Steve Austin one-on-one were Hogan, which I don't see that happening. No. Hogan not looking good. The last time I saw Hulk Hogan was when Nick got in this most recent DUI, and like the body cam footage showed Hulk and he's like walking around with a cane, and I was like, I don't think this guy's returning to the ring. So you'd have like Austin and Hogan not going to happen. Austin and Cena is possible still though. Like that one we might get, and then Austin and CM Punk would be really the other one that I think people would want to see. So I'm just throwing that out there too. There are still some dream matches for John Cena to have. I think Austin would be one, and I think Cody Rhodes would be one as well.
I think Cena and Cody would do pretty big business as well.
See, it'd be awesome though if like Cena hadn't taken these L's like that we've seen recently. Well, like it looks weird.
I said that when it looked like Rock was coming in to face Roman. I said, like, you know, Cena and Cody would be a nice little pivot here if, you know, we can't get Cody this match at WrestleMania. But the problem is you've kind of neutered Cena with losses to Theory and Solo. Like, people would still want the match. I don't think anybody would be down on a Cena versus Cody match. In respect to Rock and Roman, yes, they would, because everybody wanted Cody in that spot. But Cody, otherwise, it looked like I didn't know what he was going to do. Seth, nobody really wanted Seth. And then anybody else, Gunther, Drew, those are fine. But Cena's still a big business, big box office match that could tell a great story. But they just cut Cena off with these losses.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% agree.
Anything else from WWE?
No, but this is a pretty easy transition into the first AEW spotlight.
True. We can go into AEW. Where is the AEW bumper? All I see is the Punk one. Oh, here we go.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW last night, Cody Rhodes still runs that company, apparently. So we got the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. They beat Top Flight. Afterwards, Darby Allin comes out, runs them off. He was very upset about the attack last week after him and Sting won the tag titles, and the Young Bucks came out and bloodied them up. They're still wrestling in the bloody suits. They've not changed clothes apparently for an entire week. Maybe they should take a shower, set a good example for everybody by taking showers, using deodorant. Darby was upset, and he said, there used to be an EVP here who looked out for other people. I'm not talking about Kenny Omega. And then the crowd chanted for Cody. Said, when did this become all friends wrestling? The first episode of Dynamite, I wasn't on it. You know who was? Brandon Cutler. Brandon Cutler's just catching strays. You want your match at Revolution, we'll face you at Revolution. Kind of a polarizing promo from, I've seen a lot of reactions to this, Jensen. What were your thoughts about it?
I mean, I like the promo. He's calling him out, like him, the Young Bucks basically bringing in the whole California crew and everything, which are people I'm fans of and stuff. I just, I like the promo a lot. The Cody thing, without getting too into it, because we've already talked about Cody plenty this show, but y'all know how I feel about about him, and I really, I've said this a lot about his AEW run, because you've actually mentioned it before on our show when AEW really needs a top baby face, like a legitimate, like almost like a white meat baby face at the top of that roster, and because they have a lot of people that are kind of like tweeners that are really over, but like it's a lot of people that are kind of still do kind of heelish stuff. And I remember we were like trying to think of like who would be the best person for that like the other week, and I was like, well, I mean, they already had Cody. They had Cody literally doing the same stuff he's doing on WWE in AEW, and he got booed out of the company, which is just makes me pissed off the AEW fan base, if I'm being honest. And I'm one of y'all. I'm a day one AEW. Like, I had to sneak away from a New Year's party to watch the reveal of AEW's logo on BTE. Like I am as day one as it gets for AEW. I mean, I can't move my camera, but if you could see this wall next to me, it's all this is all AEW action figures and stuff. These are all exclusive AEW figures. These are all signed AEW figures. I just got the Jamie Hayter 1 of 1,000 in if anyone wants to see it. That just came in yesterday. I'm actually going to show that off. This thing is sweet. So this is this just came in the mail yesterday if anyone wants to see it finally. 1 of 1,000 Jamie Hayter. I ordered this thing like half a year ago. So I'm a day one AEW fan. Just like all the AEW fans are. But the thing that pisses me off about y'all and us is the way y'all treated Cody. I hate it. I absolutely hate that because y'all handed over the top babyface to the other company, and he hasn't changed anything. Like, and so you had him, and now what happens? Cody gets mentioned on AEW television, and he gets Cody chance. They're behind him now. You idiots! You had him. He was already there. Oh, it makes me so mad. And for Darby to bring that up, I've said that before myself plenty of times. When Cody left, I'm not going to sit here and try to be like, I'm behind the scenes in AEW and know what's going on. I have no idea. But like, there seems to be some pretty clear kind of like parallels or whatever you want to call it between Cody leaving AEW and then some like different decisions, booking wise, different people getting pushed, different ways that they were presenting stories. A lack of like new indie talent versus like mainstream kind of stars coming in. And granted, the pandemic and people getting released from the WWE, that contributed a lot of this probably. And I don't blame Tony Khan at all for like going after like Danielson and Punk and Adam Cole and all these guys when they were available. Like you have to if you're Tony Khan. But there was a clear shift in at some point, and it was around the time Cody left, it feels like there was a shift in philosophy as far as like what AEW's actual mission statement was. And that's what Darby Allin was talking about last night. And I agree with him. So,
I mean, you like the promo because Cody was brought up.
Well, no, I like it just in general. I'm a Darby fan. I'm a lifelong Sting fan. And I love this Nicholas and Matthew Jackson thing that they're doing and how they're wearing the bloodstained suit still and all this like, and I like the promo, not just because of the Cody stuff, but because like I agreed with the entire promo. Like I loved AEW, like with all these people that Darby's kind of putting down by saying like, but I also get like the Brandon Cutler stuff. Like there was nepotism going on for sure. Certain people getting certain jobs and certain roles that like they wouldn't have otherwise if the Young Bucks weren't in charge for sure. But I mean,
like, Cody had his pick of people too, though.
Absolutely, he absolutely did. But also, like, I think some of them are leaving. You know what I mean? I know QT's coming back. That's what it looks like. But I don't know whose decision that really was. As far as like, it sounded like he wanted to go off and become a wrestler, and he thought he was going to. He probably thought he was going to get signed to the WWE, and then like it didn't happen. And now he's going back.
Broke.
Yeah, but. And once again, there's nothing against QT Marshall. Like I like QT, and I love that they've revived Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. Him and Teal. Like I've got nothing against QT. I've seen him live at CDW in Atlanta. Like I like QT, but you know it's not just him. It's Jade was a Cody girl. Ricky's a Cody guy. MJF's a Cody guy. These are people with like question marks about what their future is going to look like a few years from now and where they're going to be going. There's a lot of Cody guys that that probably don't want to be in AEW anymore or aren't in AEW anymore. People behind the scenes as well. But regardless of that kind of speculation, honestly, Darby's promo is basically like I don't disagree with what he's saying about the change in mindset and the change in like philosophy of the company. At some point it went from this is the company for like almost like the misfit toys, almost like the undesirables, like people like Darby Allin, who I'll never forget the first time I saw Darby Allin wrestle live. It was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He wrestled Joey Janela in a high school gym in Chattanooga. My dad came to the show with me just because he wanted to get together, He doesn't watch wrestling. And I remember my dad specifically saying about Darby Allin, he's like, this guy's really cool. Like this guy's really fun to watch. Like the fans love him, but it's like it's a bummer because like this guy can never get to WWE, right? And I'm like, probably not, because it did all because of his size. Because AEW didn't even exist at that point. It wasn't even a concept yet. But like that's why, and that's like that was the mission statement of AEW. It's like, let's take guys like Darby Allin and Joe Janela and all these guys, Hangman Page, and these guys who were like doing well in other companies or maybe doing great on the indies, but like for whatever reason the WWE is not interested, or they're not a good fit, or they don't want to go to the WWE. This is where we can put their indie. We're not going to change anything about them. We're just going to take what they're doing on the indies and just put it in front of millions of people on the Turner networks. And at some point, that philosophy changed to trying to be like, not WWE light in the same way that like TNA always has been, but like it just, you know what I mean? There was a big change, and they brought in a lot of superstars.
There was, but let's be honest about where they're still at. Like, look who Hangman Page is about to be in the main event. Swerve Strickland, who was in WWE, but then wasn't there long. Certainly not enough to be considered a WWE guy, in my estimation. He's in the main event. Darby Allin is working alongside Sting. Darby Allin's still at the top of the card. He's always been a featured top of the card guy in that company. Yeah, they got Christian, they got Copeland, but now they're working with Garcia in there. Like they still have guys who are not technically WWE guys who you can consider AEW homegrown guys, and they're still at the top of the card. Like there's been Orange Cassidy. Thank you. I was racking my brain. I couldn't for some reason.
That's a good point. That's a good point though. Like they are still pushing a lot of like younger original talent that like you hadn't seen in. You're right about that. You're right.
Like they have people who are coming in from other companies because that's just the way it works. You know, Takeshita is a big match against Will Ospreay. I know Will Ospreay's a New Japan guy, but like they're making Takeshita one of the top guys. They're still pushing a lot of people who are not, again, WWE people. But when you got a Jon Moxley, when you got a Bryan Danielson, you also got to put some attention and some focus on them as well. And so they're doing that as well. It's just when they first started, they didn't have really any of these guys. Jon Moxley was the guy who jumped over. Everybody else, Jericho, was the guy who jumped over. You can argue there's still too much attention on Jericho. I can agree with that. But otherwise, they're putting focus on homegrown people, and they've just been fortunate enough to where a lot of people have wanted to leave WWE to come join them, and you got to put attention on them too.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I also, and from Darby Allin's perspective, when it comes to this promo, especially directing it at the Young Bucks, I like this because that's a reason. Because from his perspective, even though everything you just said is true, he could still be like in his own mind, well, like this person or that person or whatever, like isn't even here anymore, and they should have gotten an opportunity, and they aren't because Adam Cole is over here running this devil stable that nobody cares about or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I can understand like gripes Darby Allin would have about like certain performers or maybe some of his friends that haven't gotten opportunities because they brought bigger names in. But at the same time, you're completely right about what you're saying. Like that is a good point to bring up, but I think also once again it's because he's talking to the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks are supposed to be heels, and they're supposed and they're supposed to be leaning into the idea of the nepotism as heels right now. Like even Brandon Cutler was like tweeting about this last night. He was like, he said something.
Oh, he's been tweeting. It's been very funny. Cutler tweets every single week of the Young Bucks. Like sources tell me backstage that Tony Schiavone is out of line. He's going to get fined. He did get fined last night for disparaging the Young Bucks. So my thing with the promo was I wish Darby had maybe a little bit more focus on the attack and still wearing the suits, the bloody suits, going after Sting's family and things like that. And like you can still say these things, but maybe save them for a week or two. I wish the focus was a little bit more on what actually happened last week, because that was still fresh in everybody's mind, where you didn't need to go all fully inside baseball on kind of the first promo out of the gate here. I don't think he was wrong for doing it. I know AEW, this has been a staple of AEW, right? Like from the very first show, they were going not necessarily shots at WWE, but just hey, let's talk kind of inside baseball kind of things. Let's talk real life kind of things. And the crowd pops with that because most of the audience understands that kind of stuff. That's why there was a Cody chant last night. The audience gets it. I do wish there was a little bit more focus on the actual attack that happened last week instead of, I'm only here because Cody signed me. He's the only sane person. You guys re-signed here because it was easy and you wanted an easy life. Like, it's like, okay, like, so did you want him to go to WWE where it would have been more difficult and they wouldn't have been able to travel? It's like, yeah, that's a little too much. But again, this is what AEW has done. This is what they've always done. I've accepted it, but I think you got to do a better job sometimes balancing that stuff. And when you have a hot beatdown angle like they had last week, you got to call more attention to it instead of go straight for the insider stuff.
That's a good point. And that's also a good way of explaining kind of, because like Jeff Valley Driver in the chat was saying it wasn't a shoot promo, which is true. Like that's why I'm looking for like this. Darby would say these things as a character to heal Young Bucks, but like you're saying, and like Jeff's actually saying also in the chat, I think we're all agreeing here because AEW does mix the real and the work and the shoot so often. Like there's a lot of inside baseball stuff going on, so like you have to consider that too. So I'm with you, but overall, I'm hyped for Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks. I think that they've done a really good job of making the Young Bucks really unlikable. One thing that I think Darby could bring up that I shouldn't say could. Like if he somehow brought up CM Punk to the Young Bucks, I think that would be super interesting because Darby, you don't have to say his name. I don't know how that works with the NDAs and stuff, but like CM Punk came into AEW in storyline to wrestle Darby Allin. Like he came in and he was like, Darby Allin's my favorite wrestler. Like I want to get back into this. This guy's motivating me to get back in the ring and I want to come back to wrestling and take on Darby Allin. And then the two of them kind of formed a bond. And like even CM Punk's last televised match outside of the pay-per-view, I was there live in Atlanta and it was a match where I believe it was Sting, Darby, Hook, and CM Punk all teamed together, and I think it was for Collision taping. I'm pretty sure. And like even then, like Darby and Punk were still like aligned. Like, and you could even bring that into this somehow to make the Young Bucks look even worse and be like, y'all lost. Y'all know who you lost and why you lost, and back in the way you guys are acting. You know what I mean? If they want to really lean into this whole EVP heel Young Buck thing, like you can get you can get the CM Punk fans that still love CM Punk hating even harder on the Young Bucks if you play it certain ways. So just kind of throwing that out there too.
Maggie leaves a message. Hope you're doing well, Maggie. I didn't understand Darby's promo because he's been heavily pushed in AEW. He beat Samoa Joe. Like that, I get that point. I think Darby's point was just like, I would have never gotten these opportunities if it wasn't for Cody, and then I had to make the most of it for myself. But yeah, Darby can't really be one complaining about a spot when he has always had a spot. Again, Cody is the one, and this was his point of like, I wouldn't have had this if the Young Bucks were just picking their friends and everything. I'm here because Cody was here, and then I worked hard to keep all of this. But it is a little rich for Darby to just be like, I definitely wouldn't be here because of you guys, and like I'm being held down now that Cody's gone. It's like, nah, you've done pretty much well from the very start that you've been here.
That's true. That's very true. So yeah, we can move on to the next topic.
Well, Sidedown Spare says Cody screwed Cody.
Cody, there you go. There you go.
The other AEW spotlight is the triple threat match between Samoa Joe, Hangman Page, and Swerve Strickland. Samoa Joe comes out and he's like, I brought back the ranking system. I said, bring your record, bring your reputation. And then here comes these two idiots. They fought to a draw, and loserdom is rewarded here. AEW likes to associate themselves, has a natural allegiance to losers, and that is unlike AEW. It's like a crime has been committed, and now people will pay, and I'm going to kick both of their asses. Swerve comes out. He's not happy, and he says, this wasn't personal. You're making this personal. I'm here to build my legacy. I'm here to prove that I'm the top of the top, and I'm going to do that by defeating you. And then Hangman Page comes out I love this from Hangman. Just don't write that I was mad. Do not put out there that I was mad and upset. It was a very online thing of like, nobody, don't tell everybody that I was angry. I never logged off. I was not upset about this. He's like, I agree with you, Joe. Like, he did not win. He did not get a victory over me. He should not be in this match. And then Joe is just like, I don't give a shit about your dispute. I'm kicking both your asses at Revolution. And that's that.
This was awesome. I thought this was great from everybody involved. Like Samoa Joe, at least making some sort of storyline reason for the rankings to be back. Like, you know, because the rankings are controversial and I don't think they're going to stick for very long. But for Joe to be like, listen, they're back because like I want clear contenders, so I know exactly whose ass I'm going to kick in which order. That's a badass champion right there. Like, line him up so I can knock him down. I love that. Swerve coming out and cutting his promo, and the fans were super behind him. And, you know, if we weren't so fresh into the Samoa Joe title reign, I would say strap up Swerve now probably. But like, I don't know if you want to, because Joe's doing so good. So like, but the fans want Swerve, and like he's the most over as like a baby face as of these three, which is strange because we've talked about it before. The whole home invasion thing wasn't that long ago, and like threatening a child and whatnot. But like, hey, it's pro wrestling. You know, we can work our ways. We can do mental gymnastics to cheer for this guy. But he's been killing it, absolutely killing it. And so like you have that from Swerve basically saying like, I'm coming for this title and it's my time to do this. And then, yeah, I love the Hangman stuff because Hangman is working as a heel, but like he also isn't like not really lying about anything either. Like, but he's also kind of shook because it's Swerve, like because of his history with Swerve. You can tell he doesn't want anything to do with this guy anymore. So it's like, dude, you didn't beat me. Neither of us won, but you didn't beat me, and you had to beat me to get in this match, and you didn't do that. But Joe just being like, I don't care. I'm going to kick both your asses. See ya. It's like, I love that in a world champion. Samoa Joe's mindset of just like, I don't care who it is, as long as you're worthy. Just get in line, get your spot. But it isn't fair to Joe to have to defend this in a triple threat either. Like storyline wise, like why should he have to do that? He should be able to just wrestle Hangman or just wrestle Swerve. But it makes for an interesting match because it'll be a good triple threat. Samoa Joe's history of triple threat matches are like through the roof. He has great triple threats. So like, so yeah, no, I love this segment and I'm hyped for the match. And dude, you called this triple threat scenario like over a month ago. So, you know, you were right on the money.
I'm very curious into how they book this triple threat match because I don't feel like Samoa Joe should lose the title this early. It hasn't been a long reign, less than 2 months, but like he's really established himself and held things down after that MJF run of like, yeah, this is the dude you should probably be building around right now. But Swerve, the upward momentum he's created since last year to now, it's kind of tough to deny him. Hangman is the one where it's like, I can see it, but like the heel turn has been very good. Even though I think Hangman should be a top-notch baby face. Like they've pivoted very well with this heel turn. And like, I wouldn't fully hate him as the champion. My gut tells me Samoa Joe wins. Wade Keller, PW Torch. I don't want to pass this off as my own idea. I read this from him. He said that he thinks the finish might be like a double submission where Joe has Hangman in a submission, Swerve has Joe in a submission, and Hangman taps out to ensure Swerve does not win. So Hangman just decides he's going to tap out, so Joe wins, so Swerve does not win.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I would have never considered that, but basically he hates Swerve so much that he hates Swerve more than he wants to be the AEW champion again.
Yeah. I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it. It's creative. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah. So I don't know where they're gonna go with it. I could see maybe was gonna say Hangman pinned Swerve, but Swerve, it's off of a Samoa Joe thing. I could see Swerve pinning Hangman, and just Hangman just can't beat Swerve. Just he can't do it. Yeah, I do like the double submission thing though, because I think that accomplishes a lot of goals for that match. Maybe Samoa Joe just stacks them, and then Cody comes back. As well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning towards Samoa Joe retaining just because he's killing it. But once again, so is Swerve, and so is Hangman in his own right. I mean, these guys are all great. I'm a fan of all three. I'm okay with any of them being the world champion, but like Hangman's already been the champion, but he's a lot different now than he was the last time. So I mean, it's interesting.
Tommy says, "Was Joe on Rock's tree? I thought they were related. I don't think they are. I'm pretty sure he wasn't on the tree, and I'm pretty sure they're not related.
I'm pretty sure he's like the only. I say the only, but I say like as far as like mainstream, long term that we know at this high of a level in pro wrestling, Samoa Joe's like the only. He's like the only like legitimate Samoan that I know of that like isn't in that family.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not in. Is not related to the Rock.
They would have heavily played that up with Joe and Roman on WWE if they were actually related. Because Joe came in and beat Roman a couple times. Who forgets?
They were aligned very briefly. Like Roman got attacked in like the parking lot or whatever, and Samoa Joe. I think this is when they did like the who-done-it on Roman, and it turns out it was Eric Rowan and Bryan Danielson.
Oh, yeah.
That whole nonsense. Yeah.
Joe, I remember stuff backstage just like fell over.
Randomly? Yeah. I very much remember Joe like coming out and like Roman was like he got hit by a car or he got like slammed into the car door. I remember there being a vehicle there, and Joe was very upset and like looking for who attacked Roman with the vehicle. But yeah, I'm like. The wife just messaged me and said that's the top Google answer about Samoa Joe is that they're not related. So, there you go. I didn't think they were. All right. Anything else from AEW that stood out to you?
No, that's a good transition over to the next topics. But another solid episode of Dynamite last night.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
One man who was not on AEW television last night, but is usually on AEW television, the GOAT, Bryan Danielson. He faced Zack Sabre Jr. at New Japan, New Beginning in Sapporo. Look, I don't like a whole lot of matches that are over 18 minutes. That's my wheelhouse, 18 minutes. But Bryan Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr., I assume most people watching this have seen it. If you have not, I advise you to seek it out. It is about half an hour long. It flew by for me. It did not feel like a half-hour match. If you want strong technical wrestling where two guys look like they are in an actual struggle, in an actual grappling match, and not this choreography that the Young Bucks give you, I'd strongly advise you to watch Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. And Zack Sabre Jr. beat Danielson after countering beside a knee. He got hit with one, countered the second. Then they did some pin reversals. Zack Sabre got him down for the pin. And then Danielson challenged him to a 2 out of 3 falls match that could take place in Mexico or maybe Forbidden Door next year. He said neutral ground. So maybe he considers AEW and like a joint show, New Japan show, neutral ground. But yeah, I love this match. Shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that I love the Bryan Danielson match. I've been very high on Zack Sabre Jr. for a while, especially like he used to be just a great technical wrestler, and he still is. When he started adding a lot of like the striking stuff to his repertoire, that's when I really started to take even more notice of Zack Sabre. Like the kicks, the uppercuts, just the forearms. When he started going a lot more leaning on striking along with his technical expertise, I was like, oh yeah, Zack Sabre's got it really figured out even more here.
Yeah. I love his European uppercuts, especially. I think those look great. They went like a while into this match without even like really throwing a strike. It felt like it was like maybe halfway, because it was about a half hour long. There were most of the match up until kind of towards the end, especially there was like just like chain wrestling, which I remember as I was watching it, I was thinking like, because I think Forbidden Door would be the best place, by the way, because the first match was at Wrestle Dream, right? So so I think Forbidden Door would be the best option for a third match for a 2 out of 3, but a 2 out of 3 falls match. But it was also making me think like, I would like to see a stipulation match between the two where, like, if you throw a strike, you're disqualified. Almost like a pure rules match to some degree, but like just because I think those two guys could really pull it off. Like a match where you throw a strike, you lose, but it's all just straight. It's just wrestling. Wrestling holds until somebody gets submitted or gets pinned. And yeah, this match was awesome. It's hard for me to like justify it because I can't really describe. It's like a reversal for reversal for reversal for reversal throughout so much of this, but it's so creative the way that they're doing it, and it's like it's realistic too. Like you see actual like once it's just hard. I can't do it justice, but you'd see like you see like Sabre transition from like he like catch Danielson in like a triangle choke and then transition it to like a Rings of Saturn and then transition that into like a figure 4 leg lock. And then Danielson would turn that into like an ankle lock and do like a sorry, I'm trying to curse. Do like a single leg and like get behind in like referee's position, like he's in an amateur wrestling match. And it's like, that happened like for most of the match. And then when it breaks down into more of like the wrestling or like the pro wrestling side, they start kneeing each other, European uppercuts, like Chris strikes, penalty kicks. Danielson's going off the ring apron and doing his jumping knees and stuff. And it's like, this match was awesome. This was great. And then the finish, like you said, it was like a reversal for reversal for reversal. Eventually, Sabre Jr. basically got him like a spladle pin, like an amateur wrestling type pin, and Danielson just couldn't kick out. He was stuck, like. Yeah, this match. Go out of your way to watch this match. This match absolutely ruled. Both these guys are top notch.
Yeah, if you have not seen it, definitely go check it out. Again, I assume most people have. It was a good show from New Japan. You had Okada and Tanahashi possibly for the last time ever. The cage match, which I thought was a little long, but still good. I said it in the weeds. Like, I think if you were really attached more to War Dogs and United Empire, that match probably meant more to you than it did to me. I don't have like super emotional investment in either group. But yeah, it was a good show overall. And then you got 2 New Beginning shows. I believe Osaka are the 2 New Beginning shows coming up next week from New Japan, and that's going to be the final matches for Tama Tonga and the final matches for Okada until Okada goes to AEW.
Yep.
Any other spotlight, Jensen? I know you had a couple things kind of listed.
Yeah, well, I'll just say, just because I didn't cover it last week, I just want to give a quick shout out, because MLW, they had Super Fight, and we talked a little bit about Super Fight last week, but because I don't think there was a new MLW episode this week. I don't think they have they haven't
done like TV stuff lately. It's been the pay-per-view specials, and then they're doing like the YouTube specials.
There's a YouTube special this weekend that's going to have Cruel, aka Mads Kruger. They're calling Mads Cruel Kruger now versus Jacob Fatu on that. That should be really good. It's interesting because the MLW action figures just came out, and I think that's why they're doing this when they're doing it, because like Fatu has a figure, but he's technically not in MLW anymore. Cruel has a figure, and he's technically not in MLW anymore. Hammerstone has a figure, not in MLW anymore. And then the fourth one, I can't remember who the fourth one is, but I think it's someone else who also isn't in MLW anymore. Oh, it's Killer Cross, who hasn't been in MLW for a long time. So it's like, I feel like part of that is like they've had their action figures are finally available to buy, and no one's in the company anymore. Well, we can at least get Fatu and Cruel back for this and promote these things at the very least. But I really I just wanted to say from Super Fight, I wanted to bring up Raven came back, and he was the guy who started the Calling, which is, of course, Ricky Shane Page and Cannonball and all those guys in that group, Tammy Callahan, and Akira was in that group. He branched off, and he's been feuding with Ricky Shane Page since leaving. Raven came back and actually wound up aligning with Akira and turned on his former group of the Calling. So that was my other spotlight. I just want to throw out there that for people who've been following MLW and the Calling, because I've liked the group a lot, and I'm a huge Akira fan, have been for a long time. He's part of KOBK, and we've talked to Moe's forever. So like I've been pulling for Akira for a long time, and it's just kind of cool. I didn't expect Raven to come back and like turn on the Calling and align with Akira, and I like that he's going to continue to mentor him. Also, Ace Shock said in the chat, Bobby Fish, he is coming back to MLW. He's been wrestling Alex Kane at this.
Big Dick Bob Fish.
Yes. And I don't know if that's this weekend or like the next pay-per-view.
It's the next pay-per-view. It's Intimidation Games.
Okay, that's right. So Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I know we got to go kind of fast through the rest of the topics, but I just want to give a shout out to MLW. They got good stuff going on, and I'll probably my topic next week will probably be the Cruel versus Fatu match, depending on how that goes this weekend.
Which is Fatu's likely last match in MLW.
I
said
so.
The Fightland tapings was, or I guess Superfight, sorry. Superfight tapings was his last kind of tapings. So we will see. He is a free agent.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
Masha Slamovich winning the JCW J Cup, defeating Jordan Oliver, the JCW champion, in the finals. The title was on the line. In each match, Masha Slamovich defeated Jordan Oliver, won the tournament, won the title. Jensen, our guy Griffin McCoy, lost in the first round. Masha Slamovich ended up the victor in the tournament, which makes this tournament overall.
So the tournament itself was great. I did like a half-hour long review on the Weekender of it. If people want to hear like a real kind of breakdown of every match and everything for the tournament, but so what I'll say about a couple of things. I messaged Griffin almost right away and said that dick kick just busted my whole bracket, dude. I thought you had this because Jordan Oliver defeated Griffin in the first round with a dick kick, but the way that Jordan's tournament went was really cool. The way that it wound up playing out, because in the first round, so for people that don't know, Jordan Oliver won this tournament last year to become the JCW World Champion. He's held the title for the whole year, and he was defending the title throughout this year's J Cup. And in the first round, he had Griffin McCoy. They have a long history. You can listen to our interview last week with Griffin on the Spotlight here. Basically, it's his old. He's a mentor and a stablemate in Young, Dumb, and Broke to Griffin, for years. They know each other for like over a decade. So a lot of history between those two as a stable, and Griffin or Jordan being a mentor to Griffin. The next round, Jordan had to defend against Myron Reed. The two of them were a tag team from MLW. They were called Injustice. And so it's like there's history there. He had to beat another teammate to get through to the next round. The next round, he has to take on Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne, East West Express, former teammate. So Jordan's whole side of his bracket is him beating former teammates. Match after match after match to get to the finals. Masha just goes on a tear on the other side, just submitting everybody. One of my favorite matches of the whole tournament was Mikowski versus Slamovich. I thought that was fantastic.
And shout out to Matt Mikowski.
He's the man.
Like he was on our show not too long ago. It was like just a few months at this point. But he was just like coming off the injury when he joined us and hadn't been back doing too many matches. But yeah, his match against Masha was fantastic, and he's been on a tear since returning from injury.
Yeah, his opening round match with Deppin was great too. Like he got all these different armbar variations he throws people into. He did one from like a burning hammer position that was awesome that I thought should have been the finish. But then of course he did like the top rope one, Kushida style, and that he's the man. And this also gets to my point a little bit. And I know I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, before I got to clock in for the shoot job, but you may have to talk about Kylie Rae yourself for most of the freelance. Freelance had a great show. Let's put it out there before I have to leave. Freelance had a great show this weekend. Check out Craig Mitchell for Stay in the Dad if you can't check anything else out. Kylie Rae's on that show as well. Jeremy will give some additional thoughts on that if I run out of time. Okay, this is my only gripe with the J Cup. And y'all know I've been talking about Masha Slamovich. She's one of my favorite wrestlers in the world of any gender. She's like the last person in this tournament who needed to win this thing. And the reason is she's already been the GCW World Champion. There's a prestige here, and there's something cool about how she's the only person to ever, at this point, be the GCW and JCW champion. That is cool. And she'll get to defend that title on GCW television often, which is cool too. Like you'll see her defend the JCW title on GCW shows because she's on GCW so often. So like, I don't want any of this to sound like I'm against Masha Slamovich, because I've said it. I've been on record as saying if I can only choose 5 wrestlers in the entire world right now to like that I can watch their current matches as they're happening, Masha should probably be on my list. Like that's how highly I think of Masha. I've met Masha in person. Cool as hell. I love Masha. But if they were going to take the title off of Jordan, I would have either taken it off of him in the first round with Griffin because of how they built Griffin, winning the Battle Bowl and the whole last year of him trying to beat Jordan for this thing in their history in Young, Dumb, and Broke. If they weren't going to do it there, I would have had Alec Price or Matt Mikowski win this thing, who both wound up losing to Masha. and Masha had great matches with both of them. That's what's hard for me to say here, is because like I love Masha. It's just this one specific tournament in this one specific situation. Like Jordan had been the champion an entire year, and for my money, the most over person in that building, outside of maybe Jordan Oliver, was Alec Price. And the fans were actually upset when Alec lost to Masha. And it's not that they just like Masha, it's because it was like, oh man, like it's an Alec versus Jordan just seemed like a perfect main event. It seemed like the perfect like transition to get Alec the title. Alec's the former IWTV champion. Like he's been at like a super high level recently on the indie scene. And it felt like if it was going to be Jordan, I would go with Mikowski or with Price to be the next JCW champion. Now, where this could lead, though, they left a lot of meat on the bones between Mikowski and Slamovich, and they can revisit that for the title, which I'm excited to see that if and when that eventually happens. So I just want to put a bow on this and say congratulations to Masha Slamovich. I'm super happy for her that she won this thing. Every match she had was a banger. She had a great tournament, and she deserves to be a world champion everywhere she's at. I've said it 1,000 times. She should be the Impact Wrestling or the TNA world champion, not the knockout champion. I'm okay with her being the world champion, just like same with Jordan Grace. That's how highly I think of Masha. But in this specific scenario, if Jordan wasn't going to get through that tournament with that thing, I would want Mikowski or Price. I feel like they had a missed opportunity there to give the big, because Masha had the rub already going into this tournament. She was already super well established. You could have had Alec or Mikowski. You really get a big rub by beating Jordan for that thing in the finals.
I was surprised that they went with Masha as well, because I'm with you. One, you sold me on Griffin McCoy winning, but two is like Masha is probably not someone who needs it. Like she's pretty established on the independent scene, and of course in TNA, so probably not somebody who really needs it. Where that it did feel like, yeah, let's use this tournament to kind of like really make somebody.
Yeah, and that's my only gripe with it. The actual tournament was awesome. I watched every single match live. I sat there for both days, and I thoroughly enjoyed the tournament. And yeah, like I said, I want to make it super clear. Just I just know someone will somehow hear what I've said and somehow think I'm against Masha Slamovich. One of my favorite wrestlers of any gender in the entire world. I think the world of Masha. She's good friends with Cassidy Haynes, our friend. You know, I've got to like hang out with her before in person at GCW shows. Like she is cool as hell. I want nothing but success from Masha Slamovich. But like, this really felt like this should have been Alec Price or Matt Mikowski, or I really should have been Griffin McCoy. But like, if they weren't going to go with Griffin yet, you had an opportunity to really put someone new over, I felt like. But once again, the opportunity here is, you know, Masha is so heavily involved in GCW that the upside is she will defend the JCW championship often on GCW television. So you'll get to see a lot of the title defenses on GCW, which I do like that. But you could have also done that with Alec Price. You know, so it's just, you know, it's kind of how I feel about it. But,
yeah, I get it. I get it. I was surprised that it was Masha, but you know, hopefully that Masha, not hopefully, like Masha will definitely be defending it on the GCW show. Jensen, I know you got to run. Go ahead and plug everything you need to plug.
Yeah, well, I'll just, once again, Freelance. I don't want to like just like glance right past that. If you want more thoughts on this Freelance show from me, I did cover it on the Weekender on Sunday. So like, if you want more thoughts on that, just check out the Fightful Select Weekender podcast, because I do give all the results for this show and give some additional thoughts on Dan the Dad versus Craig Mitchell, on Kylie Rae being on the show. Storm Grayson versus Leo Rush was the main event for the Freelance Championship. So I want to throw that out there too, because that is one of our topics, and I do have to run. But shout out to Freelance Wrestling. You can watch their stuff over on IWTV, and they put on great shows. I do need to run to clock in for the shoot job. You can follow me on X at FightTalk _ FIGHTTLK _ Can't spell that. Use code FightTalk and IndependentWrestling.tv. And listen to the Weekender podcast, FightfulSelect.com, every Sunday, sometimes Mondays. But now that football's over, you could pretty much expect that on Sundays, unless there's like a big indie show on a Sunday night that I have to wait to watch before I can cover it. Also, I apologize for the audio if it doesn't sound great this past episode. I wasn't in my normal location. It was Super Bowl Sunday. I was like driving around, and it was, but it was like
car cast.
Well, then the part of it was, yeah. And I had to re-record it multiple times because like audio issues and background noise and all this stuff. It was a struggle to do this episode, but I needed to get it out because like the J Cup had just happened. I really wanted to talk about it. So I apologize. The audio is usually not as bad as what it, if it's your first time listening to the Weekender, that doesn't fully represent me in that show, but the content does, as far as like my insight on the independent scene. Maggie, I'll let everybody know about the promotion. We'll talk about that later on, but yeah, we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, I still work for the same companies, and we'll get that all talked about maybe next week. But thanks for joining me in the chat, everyone. I'm already late for work. They're probably gonna complain about this already. So see you. Good seeing you, Jeremy. Good seeing you in the chat. Enjoy this interview that you're about to hear with Patrick O'Malley.
Appreciate it, Jensen. Enjoy your day. Good luck with work. Get your promotion, as he just leaves me. Real quickly on Freelance. Yes, Kylie Rae was back. Her first match in almost a year. She had announced, I think in April, that she was pregnant. The baby was due. I want to be fair to Kylie and when the timeline here. But yeah, she announced early last year that she and her husband, or partner, sorry, as I look up this information. Okay, I'm gonna butcher Isaias's name. Isaias Velasquez. Her partner, and her, they were expecting in April is when the announcement was. The baby was due in early October. So as far as I know, everything went well. Hopefully that is the case. Kylie stays pretty private on social media. Her account is like locked and not public and everything. So I think that hopefully everything went well. But Kylie was back. Frank the Clown was back at Freelance. Danhausen was back at Freelance. It was a big Freelance show. So if you've not seen the Freelance show, everybody should go check it out. But it was good to see Kylie Rae back in action. And Kylie Rae is someone who I think a lot of people know she does a lot of potential, and a lot of people know that she can kind of be built around. And she's gotten opportunities in AEW. It didn't work out there. She kind of got an opportunity in WWE. It was just sort of a main event taping, and nothing fully stuck there. We will see. I've always said it's whatever Kylie wants to do. I don't claim to know her. She had the opportunities in TNA, but it seems like personal wise, she's doing pretty well right now. And hopefully whatever she decides to do in the future, even if it's just continue to work indies, whatever she wants to do, whatever she's happy with, I always wish the best. Kylie Rae, she seems like a genuinely great person. All right, let's get into our interview with Patrick O'Malley, referee Patrick O'Malley. A lot of cool insights into refereeing, stuff that people might not think of, stuff that people might not know, misconceptions about refereeing, and just some good referee stories from Patrick. So here we go, everybody. Patrick O'Malley in the Creator's Spotlight.
Welcome to the Creator Spotlight here on the Spotlight on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert, and our guest today is independent wrestling referee Patrick O'Malley. Patrick, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
For having me. I'm doing good. Just out here living the dream.
Yes. Yeah, well, I'm glad you could join us today. Me and you met at GCW in Atlanta. This was, I can't remember the name of the event.
The C or no? Or was that the
Yeah,
name?
it was. Okay. I think it was C or no. Yep, you're right. And it was the event where Kevin Q and Dominic Guarini defeated Los Macisos for the GCW tag team titles. I never know when I go to these shows where I'm going to be sitting at. I just kind of I'm at the mercy of like Brett in GCW, and I'm just like, all right, I don't know where I'm going to go, but like I'm here to try to do some coverage and see where I can fit in at. And they just by chance had the two of us sitting next to each other, and it was around the time of that match that I realized like that you knew some of these guys too, because you were really marking out for like the same guys I was from like the Southeast. And I was like, oh, then the next thing I know, you start telling me, and I started putting it together. I've seen you refereeing on independentwrestling.tv for sure. So, Patrick, that's just a little backstory for everyone on how this came together and how we met. But if you want to just kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself as we get started off here, just you as like a fan and just kind of getting into like the world of wrestling.
So for me as a fan, like I grew up on wrestling like for as long as I can remember. I remember being 5-6 years old my dad worked second shift. So we would always, my mom would set the wrestling to record, and I would stay up and wait on him to get home, and then we'd watch wrestling right before he went to bed. And so been on wrestling since then. Kind of grew out of it a little bit when about the time it wasn't cool to be a wrestling fan, young and
Oh, we lost Patrick for
Oh.
a second.
Everything was working fine, Jensen, when we were having our backstage conversation, and then
Everything was working great.
I wonder if he got a phone call actually, because
Ooh,
it
that's
looks
a
like he was
good-
on his phone. And usually, when you're on your phone, like you get a phone call, you get that black screen that just pops up.
That's a good call. We can always edit this if we need to. Also, it depends on how long. If people either see us talking about this right now, or we'll.
Oh,
we lost him completely.
Awesome, completely.
Well, I'm sure I'll hear from him in a second.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
There we go. He's back. He's back, and he's full screen. Oh, there you go. He's back.
calling me, and my phone went haywire.
I told you.
That's what Jeremy was getting. That's what he said. We were guessing you got a phone call, but I don't know if we'll edit that or we'll leave it how that just was. But basically, if you can just kind of pick up where you got that call from.
So basically, like, got out of wrestling about the time where it wasn't cool to be a wrestling fan. Young, impressionable kid, followed what my friends were doing. And then about the time I got back into high school is when I discovered independent wrestling. Because there was a guy from my hometown who was actually wrestling in the local area, Blake Christian. Me and him are from the same town. So I started keeping up with him, going to like his shows. That local promotion was running 3-4 nights a week, and I was going there, and that's actually the same promotion I started working for, USA Championship Wrestling out of Jackson, Tennessee. And so about the time high school came, that's when I really got into wrestling heavy, started keeping up with the independents and all these other promotions in this crazy world of wrestling.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I did not know that you and Blake Christian were from the same area. What's it like seeing his kind of progress? Because he had like that huge like kind of first indie run, and then he got signed to the WWE. And a lot of people don't even realize him as Trey Baxter. He was on 205 Live. He was actually doing really well. Him and Alex Zane when he was Ari Sterling, and like. Yeah. And those guys it was like the weirdest timing. They were kind of like in and out within like 6-9 months, but they were doing really solid work on the shows when they were given chances. And then Blake comes back out onto the indie scene, popping up on Ring of Honor and everything, of course, all over the indies. But of course, the current GCW World Champion. What's it like seeing, his whole progression?
Dude, it's really cool, like watching his progression, seeing it, because I seen him from the very beginning. When he first started wrestling, young skinny kid in a faction star pack with a set of twins, Matt and Nate Starr. So like I've literally seen his career from the very beginning, and we actually had mutual friends that made me and Blake cross paths. So me and Blake, we don't see each other often. Anytime we see each other, it's always cool to catch up. Like just two hometown guys, like out just traveling and crossing paths every now and then. It's super cool.
Why is he such a dick now? That's what I want to
know. I can't. He's nice to me. So.
It's funny because he's one of those heels that like it's hard to explain because so like when you have like the heel MJF type where like when MJF's a heel and he like really really sticks to it whether he's on the show or not. Blake's kind of like that, but like if you meet him at a show, like when like the camera's off and you like walk up and you're like, man, I'm a real fan. He'll smile and like give you a handshake. Like he's actually. I want to put that out there for people who maybe might be like intimidated by like meeting certain wrestlers and stuff based on how you see them on the show. Even though Blake is a giant dick on GCW television now, if you walk up to him as a fan, like he'll appreciate you coming up and saying you're a fan. So.
Oh, 100%. He'll love it.
How'd you get started in the world of refereeing?
So when I first got in, I wanted to wrestle. Like, started in Jackson, talking to the promoter there, and then so I started refereeing like before I actually started training to wrestle. And in the process of that, the promoter of that company was actually very sick. and not many people knew it. Just us in the locker room knew like how sick he was, and he ended up passing. Um, so when he passed, in his will, it was, hey, either my sister takes over the company or the company dies. And his sister didn't want the company. So another guy who helped him run it started his own promotion. And that was kind of where I started doing a little bit of training and realized my body's too beat up to wrestle. Because at the time, I was 22 with 18 years of sports damage on my body. So I'm like, you know what? There's not enough good referees in that area because it was West Tennessee wrestling. And it's getting better, but at the time, refereeing there wasn't good. The majority of wrestling there wasn't good. And so I'm like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to bring back good referees again.
I like that. So which company did that spawn? Like with the one having to end, you said that the new company started and that's where you got in. Which company was that?
I actually started at USA Championship Wrestling. That was the one that had to end. And
Right.
Tennessee Championship Wrestling.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's the name one more time? I apologize.
Tennessee Championship Wrestling.
Okay, gotcha. Tennessee Championship Wrestling. And then how did you get into like New South and TWE and these other companies?
So New South, I actually got in through Allison Lee. She's a ref for TNA. I know her. We kind of started at the same circuit in Mississippi. I came into there when she was there, and messaged me one day. She's like, "Hey, I'm not gonna be able to make this show at New South. Can you make it for me?" And so I did that show, and then when she got signed to TNA, she wasn't able to make many New South shows at all. So that's when they brought me in full time. And then TWE was one where I was coming up to Chattanooga to visit. So my current roommates now, actually, I was coming up to visit them. Messaged a guy from New South. I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in town this weekend. Do you know anywhere in Chattanooga I can work?" And it just so happened they needed a ref that night. So I'm there semi regularly. They have 2 full-time refs they use on Saturday nights, but they do this really cool thing there called Crash Course, where the Jaden Newman has a training academy at TWE, and every other Monday, his students wrestle, and so they can get reps. And since I only live 20 minutes from there, I'm there every other Monday night doing those student shows. So that's how TWE came about.
That's awesome. So I want to follow up a little bit about that on that. And Jeremy, I know you got some questions as well, but I wanted to ask if you're okay with saying, would you mind telling like who do you remember? You said that there was somebody you spoke with that got you, that was like kind of your bridge between New South and TWE and told you like there could be opportunity there. Who was that you spoke to?
It was Carmen Michael.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so and Carmen's been on the show before, so people who've seen the show know Carmen. Yeah, great dude. He's a real Swiss Army knife. He does a little bit of everything, so that's good to know. So Carmen actually made this happen. That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I missed the show when Carmen was on, but we are friends on Twitter. Carmen is always, oh yeah, I
Did I do that solo?
You did.
Oh, I don't. Why was that? You just weren't available that day?
That was when my dad was in the hospital.
Oh,
things weren't going
sorry.
well.
I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. I apologize, Jeremy. I forgot that. Yeah, I can't remember how long ago all this stuff was. We've been doing the show so long that like real life stuff has happened that's more important than wrestling for sure.
So that was last June, to give you an idea of how long ago Carmen was on the show. It was last June. And so it's been a while. Patrick, what's like one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to like being a referee and the referee's job?
In my opinion, the biggest misconception is that people think that, I mean, I'm sure y'all have heard this before, that we're there just to count to 3. In reality, refereeing is a lot harder than that, because not only are we worrying about the safety of the wrestlers, we're also, depending on where you work, they want you to call the match as a shoot. And having earpieces in, people in your ear all the time, trying to give time calls without being obvious. The biggest thing is those like I've run into this a lot actually. People think that just because I'm a referee, I don't know anything, and then, like I don't know the business. I've been around it so long, like even growing up and knowing people in it for so long, I know more than what people think I do. Nah, I'm not gonna say I know everything, but like that's the biggest thing that I found is people think referees are literally just there to count to three.
Okay, so that kind of surprises me that people would think, oh, referees don't know anything. I guess maybe that's just a oh, referees are dumb type of thing because they miss an outside interference every single time. But I would think that like referees are some of the smartest people in wrestling because you're always hanging out with people. You got to kind of talk to a variety, like everyone, because you're working multiple matches. You obviously got to talk to the booker, the owner, the production people putting together. Like, I would think referees are the smartest people.
Now, I will say that's not so much as the Southeast where I am now, like in the Chattanooga, Atlanta, Alabama areas. It's not so much there. It was more of like, I hate to use this term, but some of the old heads in West Tennessee who they were like, we've been doing this 20 years, you're just going to do it how we want to do it, and we don't care what you think.
Again, that's very surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing.
I can relate to that a little bit, just knowing about like when Southern Underground Pro started up in Nashville years ago. Righteous Jesse, Kevin Koo running that, and I remember talking to Jesse around the time that started. Dylan Hales, and there's a ton of people behind the scenes that have helped run SUP. I want to give credit to a lot of people with that, but I remember Jesse and Koo telling me as it was starting, they were like, there's way more people saying this isn't going to work in this area than think it's going to work. They think that a super indie isn't possible because it's Tennessee, it's the old heads, like you're saying. So there is that kind of barrier to entry and that kind of weird like Southern wrestling stigma still in like some of these areas where like a quote unquote super indie with like the newer school type of like indie style wrestling and stuff and storylines. So there definitely exists for sure. So I kind of know what you're talking about. And on top of that, with kind of that mindset of like the old wrestling or like the shoot wrestling or, what's real, what isn't and all that. You mentioned something that caught my attention just now. You said that there are some companies you work for and some the companies you work for that where they may expect you to treat this as a shoot where it's like, so how does that conversation work? Is that a behind the scenes type thing where like before the show starts, they tell you specifically, they're like, if those shoulders are down, you count 3, but some places might say, what the storyline is, make sure you do not count 3 if this happens.
So I've never actually witnessed, or it's never happened to me where somebody's like, hey, you know what it's supposed to be, don't do this. Every promotion I work for is like, hey, they tell the locker room, like, hey, our referee's calling us a shoot. Like, granted, they may know what's going to happen, but they call it as a shoot. I've just known other referees to say, hey, some promotions don't like that. They don't want you to call it as a shoot because it could mess up their story. Now, I don't know what promotions those are, but like that multiple times from multiple referees.
Gotcha. Thanks for clearing that up. I figured that was probably the case, but that would be confusing as a referee if I had to be in that position where like I'm trained to count this like I'm like this is a shoot. And I even remember, this is pulling so many memories from like my chamber here, but I remember I used to go from Nashville to St. Louis to watch Glory Pro shows back in like, this is like 2018-ish. And I remember Myron Reed won their Crown of Glory championship on accident. He had like just started wrestling. He was like brand new and like the ref counted 3. And I found out after the show, everyone was like, that wasn't supposed to happen. But like the guy's shoulders were down. So like the ref counted it. And it's like, that's gotta be tough in your position too, where it's like people might think that you messed something up when like, no, you didn't. Like you did your job correctly. Like someone else messed something up, but like you're going to catch the heat for it.
And that's another thing where it depends on where you work. Like I said, the places I work for, the bookers and the promoters, in situations like that, they tell the locker room also, hey, we're gonna side with the referees on this. Like they're job right. If your shoulders are down and you don't kick out, that's your fault.
I'm talking about it even more from like a fan perspective, like, oh, you effed up. Like they're gonna go at you like you screwed something up, and it's make you feel bad about it. I've seen this happen in Terminus shows, Battle Slam shows. I've seen this happen plenty of times where like I feel bad for y'all a lot of the time, where it's kind of a thankless job in a lot of ways, like an NFL field goal kicker. It's like you know what I mean. When you're a good ref, like people don't even notice because like you're just doing your job. But when you mess up, everyone notices. There's a lot of pressure.
Honestly, it's the biggest compliment to not get noticed. Like I've asked other referees before because like I don't know if y'all hear the dogs barking.
You're good. That's
Yeah,
not it's not a
it's-
big deal. Yeah, all good.
Like I've had a few referees who they've asked me to watch their match and see how they are. And honestly, it's hard to watch a wrestling match and just watch the referee. You most of the time, unless they mess up, you don't notice them. So that's the biggest compliment I can receive as a referee is, hey, I didn't notice you. I'm like, cool, we're good then.
Well, in that case, this is my last question, Jeremy. You get a couple. I got to follow up with this. Have you ever seen Bryce Remsburg's Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan match where he's the only one in the ring? Is that something that you envy? Like, is that something where you're like, you think that there's like, that's like super impressive to see something like that? Like, because normally you don't want to be noticed, but when you're the only guy in the ring, that's totally different.
Oh, dude, that's honestly like super impressive to me. I could never do it. I know for a fact I can't do that. I still to this day, if I ever meet him, that's the question I'm gonna ask him. Dude, how did you do that? Like, because watching that match, I don't even remember much about it, but I'm just like, you can tell from my eyes anyway, like who the good guy was, who the bad guy was, moves and everything, just from the ref. I still to this day don't understand how he pulled that off.
A lot of cardio is how he pulled that off is one thing, because getting up and down, I imagine, takes a lot. It takes a lot out of you, and to do it as many times he did it in that match had to be very tough. When you talked about calling it as a shoot and then maybe messing up, but it's not your fault. Has any wrestler ever accused you of trying to fuck on them?
That has actually never happened to me so far.
That is good, because the famous story of Cody Rhodes. Yeah, so that's good that no wrestler has accused you of trying to fuck on them, because that would, I don't know if that would be your mess up, but you would get the blame for it.
Yeah.
What's a match that you refereed that like you were proud to be a part of?
Probably the one that I'm most proud of is one that showed me like I'm actually like good at this, because like I'm a bigger guy. I'm a 330-pound ref. Like you don't see that often, and people say, "Oh, he can't move that well." Like I refereed a Myron Reed and Hunter Drake match. That match was fast, and that one is the one that showed me that okay, I'm actually like somewhat good at this. And that's probably like top of the totem pole for me, is one I'm super proud of.
It's a good one. What's your experience been like? I wanted to know about with Dump Sanders and with Jaden Newman, both very different people, but both running like really, really good operations with TWE and with New South.
Mm-hmm. My experience with both of them has been great. They both treated me so well. Like I love both places dearly. I try to work at both places as much as I can. It's kind of hard to do because they kind of run on the same dates, honestly. But this year it's worked out so far this year where they're not running on the same dates. So like even if I'm not working a TWE show, I live 20 minutes from there. If I don't have a booking, I go there just to hang out, just because I love it. So I mean, like for me, both guys have been really good to me. I love both of them dearly.
Who are some people you've seen in some of the like TWE showcases that you think maybe are going to break out soon that people don't really know about yet?
One that's actually at New South right now as well, Jameson Shook. I don't know if he's actually been traveling up to H2O and stuff like that. He lives down here. Damon Stryker. He's been at New South some doing scrambles. Another one is Josh Locke. He just did Effie's Big Gay Brunch. Sigrid, daughter of Tyr, just did Effie's Big Gay Brunch as well. I'm trying to think who else is. Aaron Wade, if you've heard of him,
Of course.
he's traveling up to H2O and stuff like that as well. Like that whole student class is just really good. Jaden's putting out a lot of good talent through that training academy.
So that reminds me, I'm glad you brought up Aaron Wade. So Aaron Wade, of course, part of the Squatting Dragons, along with Manhorn. And obviously, Shiny Shoes. So it's like, what's that like, seeing the referee / wrestler and like the way that he's, because I've watched him over the years go from like a guy, I remember him doing like the coach thing where he just go out and like squat a whole bunch, and it was kind of like just a kind of a goofy comedy thing, but like he's actually, I feel like Manhorn's gotten like pretty good recently. He's definitely over. So like, what's it like seeing him kind of transition from referee to wrestler like that?
Honestly, I haven't been around him much as a referee. Like,
Really?
I usually only see him as Cody Manhorn. The only time I ever see him as Shiny Shoes is when ICW, the deathmatch company, comes into Chattanooga because he's their referee. That's the only time I ever see Shiny Shoes. Other than that, I only see Cody Manhorn.
Cody, man, that's interesting because I didn't really think about that, but that actually makes sense because he's mainly only wrestling as Cody Manhorn in the Southeast, but he is still refereeing at Shiny Shoes for ICW NHB, and they're running that TW arena a lot more often now. So that I didn't even put that together. That's actually, what's it like seeing those Noel's Bar shows in person? Those are badass events.
I personally love deathmatch wrestling. Like that, if there's one thing that's at the top of my bucket list, is to referee a deathmatch. My roommate absolutely hates death matches, and I talk about them all the time. And he's like, "Dude, would you just shut up?" He's like, "I don't like them," but I personally love death matches. I think it's just like any other style of wrestling. I equivalent it to music, really, because like everybody likes rock music, but there's so many different subgenres to it. Everybody has their own taste in rock music. I equivalent that to wrestling as well.
Now, working a death match, like you mentioned, that's on your bucket list. Do you know of how you would sort of referee that type of match as far as just getting out of the way of stuff? Is like deathmatch wrestling always kind of fascinates me because I'm not the biggest fan of it. I can take it in small doses, but if it's like a whole card, I'm like, I don't know about this. But being a referee, it just seems like just don't get hit by stuff.
So basically, doing a death match as a referee, because I've done hardcore stuff, and death match is basically just hardcore on drugs. Like, basically, it's staying out of the way and just keeping everybody safe. Because in those matches, you're only there essentially to count to 3, but it's keeping everybody safe, moving light tubes and doors and stuff out of the way after they're used, just trying to keep the middle of the ring as open as possible, because that's where they're going to be at for the match. So it's really just keeping everybody safe.
So that's one thing that where you mentioned like the best referees are ones that you don't notice. That's something that I don't always take a lot of notice to of, the referee's got to kind of get stuff out of the way. You see them sometimes like sweeping stuff out of the ring with like their foot, just kind of kicking it out of the ring. And that's something I just don't pay attention to or even like think of, someone's like got to do that to make sure the ring stays clear. But I guess that's a good sign of a good referee.
Yes. It is. I've seen many refs before, like even just little things, like an earring pop out of somebody's ear in a normal match, and the ref just lets it lay there. And I'm like, dude, that's pointy at the end. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah. I always when I'm watching death matches, when it comes to the referees, what like it's funny because like I'll watch these matches and because of all the indie coverage I do, I watch a ton of deathmatch wrestling nowadays, and it's one of those things where, like Jeremy, it was never really my thing, but I've watched it so much at this point that like I guess I've just gotten really used to it. And the thing that still makes me like cringe isn't like seeing someone covered in blood, all cut up, and everything that I'm used to seeing. It's the referee getting down on the mat and seeing them counting 3 and all the rubble, and seeing like their fingers getting Oh, here we go. Sorry, we lost you for a second. I'll see like I remember it was like the Nick Gage John Moxley, like their first title match in GCW, and I feel like I remember seeing the referee get down. They counted the 3, and like their arm was bleeding at the end of the match, and I was like, that's what makes me cringe. Like the referee having to get down and count the 3 in the glass, and now you're bleeding too, you know, and all you're doing is your job, just trying to hit the mat. So,
Dude, the worst count I've ever made is there's actually a startup promotion in Alabama that just started this year or 2023 called Retinal DIY Punk, something along those lines. But it's basically punk rock and pro wrestling, and they run like once a month on Sunday afternoons. They had there was just like a hardcore match go on, and they went outside of the bar out onto the pavement, and dude gave dude a suplex, pinned him, and so I'm counting on pavement. That's the count I've ever made.
Do you have to hold up on that a little bit so you're not completely slamming your arm, or you just count it like it's a normal wrestling mat out there?
I mean, for me, it was force of habit. Counted it like a normal one.
Yeah.
I was very mad later though. Like, and because I know the guy, it was Casey Owens and Brandon Williams. Casey's from TWE. He's the one who gave him the suplex and pin. I told him later, I said, dude, I hate you for that one.
They just did it as a rib on you. They're like, hey, you're going to count this pinfall on this concrete now.
But he was going to do it too, and I didn't think he actually was, and he did.
You need to bring, just next time he's wrestling or any hardcore match, just bring like a soft pad with you, just slip it down under and then count it like there. Protect your arm on that one. Yeah, I would imagine it would be just tough to hold up, even though you know it's concrete. Like you were so in rhythm, so used to hitting the ring one way, to now try to change that just because you're on concrete would probably take a lot of just force of habit, as you said.
Well, and it would look really lame to like get down there kind of like, you know, like fragile and like you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't look right either.
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, I don't care. Protecting my arm on that one. Just, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're okay after having to count that on concrete.
Be the worst thing that's happened to me. I've had a concussion before. We'll be all right.
So have you, like, referees take bumps in matches and everything. Like, have you had to take like a really hard like bump in a match?
I didn't take one. One was given to me one time. Actually, about 2 years ago, I had a severe concussion. They thought I had a brain bleed, and they were talking like. I was given a chair shot to like this side of my head right here. The dude said he was aiming for my back. Needless to say, I don't work for that promotion anymore. So, I haven't really taken a bad bump, but there was one given to me.
Oh,
yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
You want to call it out, whoever did that?
He already knows how.
Okay. I mean, we can put him on blast. I'm just saying, like, I'm not in like the business of like just spreading hate and like having people get attacked over stuff. But like, I mean, if someone's out there being unsafe, because there's people out there like Joshua Bishop and Matthew Justice who enjoy getting hit in the head with chairs, but like, you know, you want to get blindsided by them if you're not expecting it.
I literally wasn't even facing the guy. My back was turned to it. My back was turned to him. But he's also retired. He doesn't wrestle anymore. So
okay.
And it was a very small promotion in West Tennessee that just the same people go to it every week. That like they don't stream or anything like that. So I mean, wouldn't be worth putting him on blast. I love the promoter. I love the guy who owns it. So I don't want to do that to him.
That's fair. Sure.
Fair enough. Well, again, we're glad you're okay on that. I do want to ask, moving briefly away from wrestling. I know you have on your bio, Your Life Matters, and your pen tweet is about kind of like mental health and struggles we all sort of go through day-to-day life. So I just want to ask, like, things you do to sort of take care of your mental health.
Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I do so much wrestling. Is just trying to stay busy, which doesn't always work. Like just trying to stay busy to keep my mind from racing, because I mean, I do struggle with occasion. Right now, for the most part, I'm in a good place. But like, I just try to stay busy and do as much as I can. Because if I'm just home, like alone in my thoughts, that's not how I want to be. So I just try to stay busy, always doing something, even if it's just watching wrestling or watching whatever on TV. Just keeping my mind busy is pretty much what I do.
I appreciate your answer. I think we all struggle with mental health, and I always like to ask about these things if I know people are kind of prominently speaking about it, to let everybody know that like you're not alone out there. Because I think a lot of people always think that. I certainly do, and it's like, no, there's a lot of people out there who are probably thinking like you, and maybe want to reach out and talk. So I really appreciate your answer, and two, your pinned tweet. It's big to let people know, like, hey, reach out, message me if you're ever going through some stuff. I respect that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I noticed, I on your profile picture, it looked like you had the SPO band on. Would you like to give any thoughts on the memory of Sean Patrick O'Brien?
I actually never met him. So the way I got that was through Shiny Shoes. He had them made, and because I referee at TWE, he's like, "Hey, SPO ref in this building, referees in this building are gonna wear this." So he passed before I moved to this area. So like I know of him and I know about him, but I never met him. So I just know all the good things I hear about him. And from what it sounds like, he was a great man.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. Like I have a lot of really close friends that were really close with him, and he just seemed to have like a real impact on a lot of people. Like even if you didn't know him directly, it's like you hear this or that, and so yeah, I just noticed that on your profile picture. I just wanted to get some thoughts on that as well. Do you ever? I don't think you would. I don't know because of the timeline. If you cross paths or in what promotions? Are you familiar with John Mosley? Mose?
Yes. Oh, dude, I just seen him. Like I seen him Saturday actually.
What are your thoughts on that guy?
We can't stand Moe's around.
I haven't had a lot of interaction with him. Outside of like just hey, how are you? But the few times I have had interaction with him, we've just talked. Because I mean, we like similar styles of music. I'm really big into metal and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the only conversations I've ever had with him.
That's cool. He's been on our show a lot, so we always like to get just some sort of thoughts on Mo. Some people think he's intimidating. Some people think he's the man. So a wide variety of opinions, and he's in like that whole TWE like action SCI scene heavily. There was a follow up I had about that with TWE. I guess just in general, like just Jaden. Like if you could just speak on him, just like not just as like a guy promoting TWE, but I've seen his progress as a wrestler from the time he was a teenager up until I just heard he was in like a 6-man match the other day, and like they were calling him the veteran of the match. And I was like, this is nuts that he's considered the veteran now in some of these matches. Like, what's just kind of like his. Well, I guess what does he mean to TWE? What does he mean to the whole Southeast scene right now? Because I feel like he's just every he has some sort of everyone in this scene. I feel like you got some sort of connection to him in some way, shape, or form right now.
So I mean, to be honest, without Jaden, there is no TWE. Like TWE wouldn't be a thing, and he's got such a touch on everywhere in the Southeast because of not only his accolades and everything he's done, but the students he's putting out too. Like every person I've known that to come out of his school and go somewhere else, they're all like, "Oh, Jaden trained you. You're gonna be good." Like, and just the effect he has on pretty much everywhere here in the Southeast is really cool to see and really cool to watch, especially like me moving to the Southeast in last April. I had no idea who he was until I moved here. So like me coming here and seeing this, I'm like, oh, this guy's a big deal. And I'm just like, it's really cool to see. Speaking of him being the veteran thing, it really shocked both of us when I found out he's been in the business like 10 years. I've been in 3 years and I'm older than he is. Like, shocked both of us. We're okay.
Oh, sorry, Jared.
I didn't know if the audio cut.
Yeah, I thought the
cut
audio cut off for Patrick for a second as well.
Yeah.
I got confused for a second.
Patrick, can you say something?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah.
We're good now. Sorry,
Okay.
we lost your audio
All
for
right.
just a second there, but we're
Yeah.
good.
Before we start to wind down and wrap up, something we ask everybody who's on our show, the coolest thing in your room.
The coolest thing in my room. I'm trying to think. Because I haven't even, since I moved, everything's just still kind of scattered, even though it's been almost a year. The coolest thing in my room. Oh, I have a Jeff Hardy charismatic enigma baseball bat from his TNA days, the black and purple one. It's signed by him and everything.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I don't know if you have that around. If you could show that on camera.
Sweet. We appreciate it. We appreciate people going out of their way and showing us stuff.
Yeah.
I'll have like one or. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, a Jeff Hardy TNA baseball bat. I didn't know.
That's it.
I mean, I guess they made that. Sure.
I saw your pictures from the other day, by the way. Of you at
Oh,
TNA.
yeah.
Those are sweet.
So,
nice.
Charismatic enigma, Jeff Hardy, and like there's his signature on it.
Nice.
That's actually badass. Like, that seems random that it's like an inscribed baseball bat, but like that's a nice signature. It's a purple. That's right on brand for Jeff Hardy.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
So I wish I had it here, but like the coolest thing I actually have is I don't have it with me. It's back at my parents' house, like 4 hours from here. But it's a WWE Undertaker limited edition belt signed by him.
Oh,
and
okay.
The underneath the WWE logo is purple, like the dead man, black strap. It's really nice. I wish I had it with me to show you that, but that's one thing I have here.
That's awesome.
I was gonna pull up a photo to see if it was this one because they did. Is it the winged eagle one, or is it like the custom Undertaker one?
Custom Undertaker one.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull this up real quickly, and so everybody can get an idea of what this sort of looks like here. Well, maybe web PB. I don't know why that's a thing, but it is.
Oh yeah, I hate when that happens. I know what you're talking about.
You're stupid, super dumb. All right, it's gonna load here. It's fantastic audio as me just trying to load this screenshot here. Is it this?
No.
Oh, okay.
After all that, Jeremy.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely not that one. So mine is like the WWE Universal title. Looks just like that. It's just the underneath the WWE logo, where it's typically red now.
Oh, it's purple.
It's purple, and the side plates are the Undertaker logo.
Okay, I do have that one. I think people can pretty much surmise of what that looks like, but I will show it because I do actually have that screenshot as well.
We're in too deep. You got to have the picture, Jeremy.
I know exactly. We got to pay it off at this point.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's sick. That thing.
Undertaker's got a lot of custom belts apparently.
And you said signed by Undertaker as well.
Yes. So actually, the way I got that was wild. Do y'all know? It's a guy on Facebook. He runs an auction show called Signed by Superstars.
Yeah.
So the way we got that was he was doing a raffle one night, and my dad got in on it for $1.
Oh,
and
wow.
The one where he spins the wheel, lands on your name twice, you're eliminated. That wheel never landed on my dad's name, so he got that belt for $1.
Wow, nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Signed by Superstars does a lot of kind of virtual signings with wrestlers, and I cover a lot of them. So yeah, very familiar with their work.
Oh yeah, that's where I get a lot of stuff when I was buying wrestling memorabilia. Now I'm really not buying it as much anymore.
Yeah, I'm deep in that game. Unfortunately, it's expensive, but it is really cool when you get cool stuff like that. I got one last question for you, Patrick.
Okay.
It's a two-parter. Dream matches that you could referee. Can you give me one that's like feasible, like right now, like, you know, in a company that you might already be involved with, or wrestlers that like are kind of in the scene that you could realistically referee one of their matches maybe in the near future, like dream match, and then also just like bigger picture, like maybe your favorite wrestlers or that are still out there, like what would be like your biggest match that you could ever referee if you could referee for anyone?
Right now I could see I'd really just because he cracks me up. He's a super nice dude. Also, I really would love to ref for Santana Jackson.
Yeah,
I love that dude. My favorite wrestlers that are out there now that's not so feasible that I'd like to ref for, FTR. I really love those. I'm also like a big tag team guy, and in my tag team matches, I like their style of work. Like with them and the Briscoes, that trilogy they had, I thought was the best matches of the year.
Yeah,
those
for
are great
sure.
answers.
Those are yeah. Anything else, Jensen?
No, that's everything, Patrick. I appreciate you coming on, man. If you want to let everyone know like where to find you, if you got any kind of merchandise or anything you plan to put out there, please let everyone know what's going on.
So basically, I really use Facebook more than anything. You can find me at Patrick O'Malley, just like it's wrote right there. And then I also have a pro wrestling tees store. With I think it's like 2 designs on there, but one of them is offered in like 6 different colors. So basically, just Patrick O'Malley, and then the pro wrestling tees store. You can just search Patrick O'Malley in the search bar there. My Instagram and my Twitter are the same as that RefPat123. So that's everywhere you can find me there.
Okay.
And guys,
I guess really sorry, I'm gonna say, Jen, really the last question I meant to ask this whole time, just in case. No relationship to Sugar Sean O'Malley or Mike O'Malley from Guts?
No relation there.
Okay. I'd ask.
Guys, all the links are below. You can check out Patrick. You can follow him on Twitter or Instagram, and check out the Pro Wrestling Tees store. I do like the cartoon picture of the two. That's a very good Pro Wrestling Tees
Favorite one
right there. Yeah.
My vision behind that one was make one that doesn't look like a wrestling shirt, so other people might buy it too. So that's
always the way to go.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah.
So,
Patrick, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Again, guys, all the links are below. You can support Patrick. Check out all the work that he is doing. Support him at Pro Wrestling Tees. And guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. We are back. Thank you to Patrick O'Malley for joining us in the Creators Spotlight. For those who saw the when Patrick dropped out because he took a phone call, I left that in because I wanted to on record that I was correct, that he had a phone call, and that is why the audio and the video dropped. And I left that in too, or I uploaded the wrong one and forgot my own mistake. One of the two. I was either proven correct, which is true, or I was proven to click the wrong button and upload the wrong video. The one with my unedited mistake drop in there. We appreciate Patrick joining us, talking about the world of refereeing and some behind the scenes stuff when it comes to refereeing. Really fun interview with him. Go support him. The links are below for Twitter and for his Pro Wrestling Tees if you'd like to get a referee shirt. Guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us today, joining us today on the show. We'll be back next week, probably talking more about Cody Rhodes, because Cody Rhodes is the only thing to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. We'll probably be talking plenty of Cody next week here on the show. Check out all the other shows we have going on the channel. Head over to FightfulOverbooked.com. Check out all the shows we have going on over there, including In the Weeds every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. Check out Coexisting with Rob and Maggie, who's always joining us here on the Spotlight in the chat. Rob and Maggie tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern on FightfulOverbooked.com. Corey Brennan's doing a lot of great interviews with UK talent on FightfulOverbooked.com. We have a new episode of New Japan New Japan Bread Club on FightfulOverbook.com that everybody can check out as Matt and Karen review the New Japan New Beginning in Osaka and preview the sport, or they review the Sapporo shows, preview the Osaka shows. I got to get it correct on which one is which. Talk about Will Ospreay's final New Japan match. That is New Japan Bread Club up on Fightful Overbook. Check out the latest episode of Indeed with Reg and Mike. They had Billy Dixon on talking about For the Culture. Some For the Culture scoops in there for GCW weekend. GCW For the Culture. Go check out that show that is up now. Plenty of stuff on FightfulOverbook.com. Go check it out. Support what we do over there. Scheduled to have, we talked about her on the show today, scheduled to have Masha Slamovich on In the Weeds tomorrow at 10 a.m. I believe she's, fingers crossed, we got kind of mixed up last week, but hopefully comes through tomorrow. Scheduled to have Masha Slamovich on the show tomorrow on In the Weeds. Again, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of The Spotlight. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate everybody sticking with us. Thank you guys for the super chats, the thumbs up, the comments in the chat. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a good weekend. It is almost a wrestling-free weekend, I believe. No kind of major shows. I know MLW is running one of their YouTube specials. There's no Collision because the NBA All-Star game. It's a light week compared to normal for professional wrestling. So, everybody go out, enjoy yourselves, have a good weekend. Everybody stay safe, whatever you're doing. Appreciate y'all. Talk to y'all next week. Goodbye, everybody.